Hello, everyone.
Hello. Welcome to Flutter Vikings. Ajit, where are you?
Oh, sorry, I something is wrong with my camera. Let me just quickly
It's okay.
fix
The
that.
presentation ghost is present. It's a good sign. Well, while Majid,
Okay, I don't know what's going on with my camera. Unfortunately, that's PT.
you guys are missing out. He's wearing a Viking costume right now with this giant beard and horns. So maybe tomorrow.
Oh, sorry. I'll be back shortly. Sarah, please welcome everyone. I'll come back.
Okay. Hi everyone. I have no control of the screen, so I can't show you anything, but let me tell you about the conference. We have 3 days of there's the man.
Here
Three
I
days of
am.
awesome talks lined up.
I am so sorry for this. The beginning of the conference, we had a glitch. I'm so sorry for that. But welcome everyone. Sarah, continue. Let me share my screen quickly. All right. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to Flutter Vikings, the biggest Nordic Flutter conference. So I am so excited here together with my one of my team member or colleague in the crew, Sarah. So I am very excited and I want to welcome all of you right now who are watching me. I'm pretty sure that many will join us during this conference. So welcome and let's get this started. Very energetic. Okay, let's move on to the next slide and talk about Flutter Vikings program. What do we have for you today and the next 2 days? We have several different activities plus a lot of good content and fresh content that you may have seen already on the website. So you can follow our website, the program scheduled already there. You can check that, add it to your calendar, and follow our speech and speakers. Apart from that, we also have several good activities, which is going to be very amazing because we're going to give away a lot of gifts. So let's take a moment and talk about our sponsors first. This conference, without the effort that these sponsors put behind that, wouldn't be possible. So I like to thank all of our sponsors: Google Stream, Microsoft, Appsurico Software, the AdSign company, Manning, and CodeMagine for doing an amazing job for the community. Thank you, everyone. So let's now talk about our activities. This and prizes. Perhaps this is one of the most interesting part that Sarah will take care of that right now. Sarah?
Okay. Well, you can read the details on the website given there right now, but I will just give you a brief overview. We have a bunch of prizes that we're going to give away. Majid, can you go to the next slide, maybe?
Yes.
Yes. So you can see a list here, and I'm not going to read it, but just some highlights. The @sign company is giving away 500 euro up to 5 winners each if you win their contest to build a Flutter app using the protocol. We will also be giving away some dashes, the birds. I don't have one yet. I really want one. I know there's a lot of people that do too. And that is for our social media contest that we've talked about on the website, as well as some other things. We also have the author of the Flutter Complete Reference Book joining us, and he's going to do a quiz, which he has made his own app for. It's really cool, and with Flutter Web App. And if you're one of the winners of the quiz, you get some of the book copy, either physical or ebook. And yeah, that's just some of them. We have a lot more. There's details on the website. So we hope you will join.
But then how can you access these activities or read more about them? This is the link. So you have time during the conference, after the conference, you can start from now. Some of them you can start right now. Some of them you should wait until the time comes. But if you go to fluttervikings.com/activities, you will see more details over there. So let's move on to the ticket part. Then why do you need a ticket? Sarah, can you explain a bit?
Okay, I surely can. I thought you were doing this. Sorry. Well, as we just described, there are a lot of activities and quizzes and contests to participate in, and a number of them, not all of them, but most of them require your ticket ID. So there are 2 ticket IDs actually. Majid can show them to you. That's my cat. Welcome to 2020. Her name is Willow. Do you want to talk about the different types of ticket IDs? Majid.
Sarah, I am so sorry. I cannot hear anything for some reason. Let me quickly remove.
Could maybe
this.
someone in the
Just-
comments
sorry.
confirm if they can hear
That's
us?
very, very bad, but that may happen.
Or someone who knows me on Slack could tell us if you can hear us. Okay, we can hear you both.
Probably can hear me now. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, that's Willow.
Okay. All right. So I am so sorry. So I don't know what's going on with my computer, but it seems like I have a lot of tabs open and a lot of things open, and that causes some issue. But anyway,
It's okay.
let's talk about the ticket. Sarah, did you mention about the ticket so far?
Well, I said that you have a reference ID on your ticket. You can see on this example here, ZRX2, you have an email that should have something like that. And
Yes.
then in addition to that number, there's a separate one, which I guess you need for one of the quizzes, and Majid can show you how to get that on the next slide.
Yes. So if you haven't received our badges, don't worry about it, because this is your badge. You should have received it so far. But if not, don't worry about it. You also have received an email talking about all of the details that you need to know about your ticket and the activities. So you have the booking reference on the ticket. You also have the unique ID. When you click on that, like this link, view ticket, you also have a unique ID on top. But why do you need that? Why do you need this reference and unique ticket? Because if you want to win something, that's the only way we can give away our gifts. We know our contest only accept ticket ID or ticket reference, and that's it. They don't accept anything else. So if you want to win something, you need to enter your ticket reference or unique ID, depends on the activity. Then you have a time to go ahead and take the exam or activities and win something, because we know who you are by that ID or reference number. That's good. So let's move on to the last part. Please, this conference is all about community and it's so inclusive. We want to welcome everyone. So follow our code of conduct and read more about it on our website. And let's say thank you again for joining us today, for registering and being a part of this amazing community. So with that said, I'd like to say goodbye and ask my dear friend Evgeny to come to stage and take care of the stage with our speakers. So let's say hi to him. Hi.
Hello, hi everyone. Hi, pleasant to meet you, to hear you, and to see you. so it looks like I'm alone here. And when Majid said that, hey, Jenny, you should be MC on the Flutter Nordic conference, I thought that MC it's like, you know, the someone who's rapping, like Beastie Boys or Funk MCs or any other bands. So I don't know. I just brought my rusty old bass. So, and while we're waiting, Brian and our first speaker here in the room. So maybe we just jam something, or I don't know. What do you think? Yeah, so looks like a lot of people from different parts of the world joining us. So I see some people from I don't know where it is. So many comments, so I just totally lost in the comments where it is. GDG Konya, GDG Ankara, GDG. I feel like I'm on Twitch, you know, and you're trying to read everything here, and this is, yeah. So looks like Brian is here, and we can welcome him on the stage, right? Hello, Brian.
Oh wow, that Viking horn really set the tone.
Yeah, for sure. So Brian is actually from Montana. So Brian, what is the most popular? Well, no, Welcome Home, Country Roads, all this. What is the most popular folk song for Montana?
For Montana,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I feel like most of the folk songs are like about West Virginia, right? It's like John Denver and stuff like that. So unfortunately, in Montana, we'll be like, you might have some like Garth Brooks or something. But I got to be honest, even though I am a country boy, I am much more of a rock and roll head or electronic music head. So yeah, I wouldn't have one off the top of my head.
Maybe something from, you know, progressive rock.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Pearl Jam actually originated. Some of the members were from Missoula, Montana. So I guess we could go with Pearl Jam. You know.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Tool. If you're familiar with the Tool.
Oh well,
band. Yeah.
Tool's amazing. I wish we could claim Tool as a Montana native, but I think that dude's from California. So.
Okay, and yeah, I think people here not just to listen. We're chatting. So today, and first of all, of course, Brian is really popular in community because of the. Maybe people should call you Redux boy, not a Montana boy, because you're actually author of the many Redux libraries.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked on Redux. I've done a lot of work on RxDart, Scope Model, all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, my whole goal when I first started with Flutter was to try to understand what types of patterns would work well for Flutter apps. And so I just sort of created a bunch of different packages for architecture and created what we call the Flutter architecture samples to sort of compare and contrast the different techniques against one another. And so, yeah, it's funny. I think people know me for Redux, although I think I've spent much more actually of my time on other projects. So yeah, that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, it happens. So.
Yeah, but Redux has most of stars on GitHub, I think, I believe. So, and today you're gonna not talk, but live code a widget for us.
Absolutely. And so, so for my side, I actually not only kind of do some open source stuff, but I actually teach a lot of workshops, and I really have always enjoyed mentoring newer developers as they kind of get started with different technologies. And so I used to be more of a web mentor, and over the last couple of years, since I got started with open source and Flutter, I've also taught a lot of beginners at workshops I've given. And in addition, actually, I was working with a colleague of mine recently, and it actually inspired this talk. And so, Robin, if you're out there or you're watching, thank you so much, because this actually reminded me of a really common problem that I see folks have all the time, which is how to build sort of a simple checkbox widget or a simple form widget, and some of the things you want to think about when it goes into that. So, yeah, so if you want, I can go ahead and dive right into it.
The stage is yours, and I see you guys after Brian's talk.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Evgeny. Take care. Yeah, so as I said, I was kind of inspired by learning or sort of like working with more junior engineers and kind of building their first form widgets and widgets in general. And for me, actually, I think it has a lot of really interesting applications kind of going through this exercise. And so there's a few different things we can talk about, which is such as where does the state of the checkbox belong, which we'll get into in a second, or if you want to understand whether the checkbox is checked or not, how do you really do that? What's the best way? Another interesting question that comes up with this is that, like, say that when the checkbox changes, you might want to perform some kind of animation. If you're creating a custom checkbox, you might want it to either spin in or scale in the icon, the checkmark icon. And so I just thought it would be good to kind of go through and walk through how I would go ahead and create something like a checkbox widget. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and live code all of this. And then afterwards, please definitely let me know if you have any questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start, and I'm just assuming that everyone can see my screen. Let me just pop over to make sure. Yeah, okay, I didn't see anything that people can't see it. So let's go ahead and start with a basic counter application. I want to start everyone on the same page, and we'll just create what we're creating together. So the first thing that I'm going to do, usually when I start a new Flutter app, is like, this is just my funny thing. But what I like to do is actually just remove all these comments. And so I'm just going to go ahead and remove all these comments to get them out of our way so we don't have to worry or think about them later as we're coding. So yeah, so I'm just using this select next line keyboard shortcut from IntelliJ, and I'm just going to delete all these comments. So that's all we've done thus far, just to clean our stuff up. Now, we're creating a checkbox, and so to create a checkbox, I think it makes sense to have some context. So let's actually create a login page. So I'm going to go ahead and create a login page, and instead of using the My Home Page widget, we'll go ahead and rename this using IntelliJ's refactoring tools to login page. So I'm just going to call it login page and hit refactor. Now, if I save it, I'm also going to get hot reload, and I'm going to get some code formatting. So you might notice as I'm coding, I do have format code on save, so you'll see it kind of doing that. So we've got a login page, but doesn't really do any login things. So just to, like I said, set the stage, get us in the right headspace. I'm just going to remove these widgets that we've got here. We don't really want to build a counter anymore. We want to build a login page. So let's go ahead and put a couple of text fields in. So in this case, let's create just a couple text fields for your username and password. And like I said, this is just to help us set the stage and think about the form. So we'll want an infant declaration, and this will take some hint text. So we'll have a username. And we'll also create another text field that takes a password. Okay, so now if we take a look, we've got our little form starting to come together. And just because we're Flutter developers and we can do nice design things quickly, let's go ahead and give this some padding. Nothing, really don't need to do that. I just like to. So now we have username and password. And now we can actually start to create our checkbox. So what we would like to do in this case, let's pretend that there's a remember me functionality for this particular login form. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create a remember me checkbox and also label. So let's go ahead and just create a my checkbox. So this is where we'll actually start to create our own widget. For now, you'll see that it's in red because we don't actually have a my checkbox widget. And next to that, we'll just have some text that reads remember me. So this would just be, a standard form that you might be creating where the user can check on remember me. And then once they log in, they'd be remembered for like 30 days or something. And so you often need a checkbox for that, right? Okay, so if we save now, of course, it won't hot reload because we have an error. So now let's go ahead and start coding our widget. So now that we're all kind of in the same context, working on the same problem, let's go forward. Now, what we want to do is we want to create a stateless widget at first. And so what we can do is we can say class my checkbox extends stateless widget. Now, this is one way to do it, or if you're kind of getting used to starting with Flutter, one thing I really like to do is I like to use these shortcuts. So in IntelliJ and VS Code, you have these shortcuts like stateless or stfull or even stanim for like creating a stateful widget with animations. So in this case, I'll just create a stateless widget and call it my checkbox. And you can kind of see it's just a nice little snippet that fills in the build method for us and everything else. And you can see that our editor is happy now. So if we save it, we'll notice that we have remember me, but of course we don't have any sort of checkbox going on. So let's go ahead and kind of start with just some basics, some design basics, right? Now, when it comes to a checkbox, it's essentially just, let's go ahead and create something very straightforward. Let's create just a checkbox that essentially starts as a rounded rectangle. And then when you click on it, it shows an icon in the middle. So let's implement that. So in order to get something going here, we can actually go ahead and give it some decoration. Give our container some decoration. So in this case, we'll just give a box decoration with a border. And in this case, I'll just fill out all sides just with like a normal black color, I guess. Now, of course, we're going to get like a little pixel here. So we actually need to have a child or give the container a size. Just for our experiment here, I'll just go with a child with a size box that's width 24 by height 24. Alrighty. So now we've got a little checkbox, but of course we can't check on it. And of course, the design sense in me is just like, can't handle this. So size box, width of maybe 8. And go ahead and give it some size box, height of 16. And once we fix all our errors, oh, look at that. Oh, thank you. That spacing is so much better. It just really makes the difference. Okay, so back to the checkbox at hand. As I said, we've got a box, but we can't click on it. It's also a little rough. So, it's like, let's give it some cool border radius. Border radius, that's circular of 8. That's a little too much, maybe. Oh, and my formatting's all off now as well. Got to fix that. So I added a comma after the border radius dot circular and hit save so that it would make it look a bit better. So let's go ahead and turn this down to 4. I like that. It's got a little more squircle action to it. It's good. So now we actually have something that we could click on. And then when we click on it, of course, we'd want to show the check mark. So let's go ahead and make that happen. Now, this is actually the first thing that becomes really interesting. I think thus far we've done some design, nothing too crazy, but this is really where the first interesting decision, I think, happens. So let's go ahead and convert this stateless widget into a stateful widget. And this is actually what I see beginners do a lot of the time. And so this is actually one of the things I really wanted to chat about. So what you can do is if you actually just click on your widget here, you can actually hit Option Enter or Alt Enter, I think, on Windows and convert your stateless widget to a stateful widget. This is actually a really, really handy shortcut for beginners if you haven't used this one before. So now we've converted our stateless widget into a stateful widget. And all it's done is moved our build method essentially into a state class. But this is good because now we can actually start working with local state, right? So now if we create a bool checked that starts out as false, we can actually start to use this information to show whether we should show a checkbox, a checkmark icon, or just this size box. So now we have a Boolean we can work with. So we can say like, hey, if this, if checked is true, then actually rather than showing a size box, we want to show an icon. Okay, if it's not true, so if this is false, then it'll just show our normal size box. So in practice, what this will do is if it's checked, we'll see the icon in the middle of the box. If it's not checked, we'll just see a blank box. And of course, now if we were to hop over to our app, so if we were to save this and make sure it's reloaded, hop over to our app, and now at this point, it's not doing much, right? And this is because we're not handling any user input. So we've got a checked variable, but we're not allowing the user to actually toggle it by tapping on the checkbox. So this is where we can start to add some interactivity to our widget with the gesture detector. So the way I like to do it is we need to wrap this container widget with a gesture detector widget, which will allow us to actually capture input from the user, whether they tapped or double tapped or long pressed, things like that. So what we can do is we can actually wrap this container by using, once again, our handy Option Return or Alt Enter and use Wrap With widget and say, let's wrap it with a gesture detector. Now what we want to do is, of course, when the user taps on this widget, we want to change the stat. We want to change checked from false to true, or if it's true, we want to change it back to false. So we'll go ahead and provide an on-tap callback to gesture detector. And this is just a function that will be called anytime the user taps on it. And what we can do is we can simply say, hey, set state. And in here, we can call a function. And all that function will do is it'll say checked is equal to the opposite of checked. So it's just going to toggle it from true to false. Now, if we save that and do a hot reload, we should start to see that we have a checkbox actually working. Hey, that's really cool. All right, so now it's time to kind of move on to the next step, which is now if we think about this checkbox as part of a form, then we can start to think about whether this decision that we've made to put the checked in here is really the best idea or not. So the reason that this works, but it might not be the best idea, is because the checkbox doesn't really need to know whether it's checked, but the form really needs to know whether that checkbox is checked or not. Because what we're going to do is eventually we're going to take the username and password that the user has typed in, and we're going to take whatever value is in this checkbox, true or false, whether the user has tapped this or not, and we're going to send all of that to your backend, or maybe even your front end, just to like do the right thing to log the user in. And when they log in, we want to know, like I said, all of those variables together. So in this case, how would we get that information out of the checkbox, right? We can't just say like my checkbox got checked, right? We can't just like send that information through. So we need to somehow get the check status from my checkbox. Now, there's a few ways to do this, but I think one of the simplest ways, and one of the ways that I actually see folks actually kind of skip over in favor of maybe more complex options, is to actually provide the checked value directly to the checkbox, and then allow this parent form to manage whether or not the checked is true or false. So that requires two things. That means that we both need to like pass the information, the checked true or false, to this widget. And it also means that we need to let this widget, right, our login page widget, or state, I should say, we need to let it actually understand when it should like change the counter true or false, and when someone's tapped on this my checkbox, so it can respond to that. Now, this is just some leftover stuff from the counter example, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish removing all this. Okay, cool. So we just got rid of that button. But now what we want to do is we want to allow folks to provide the check status to here, rather than trying to figure out how the form can get the checked status out of the checkbox. So we're kind of reversing it. It's a little hard to describe, but basically what we want to do is we want to move this variable from inside of the checkbox state itself to the login page state. So now we would actually have access to this checked variable. So we could say, hey, when we submit the form, we actually would know what this variable is. But then, of course, we start to break our widget down here. So we've moved back down to our checkbox widget. So now we say, oh, okay, well, now we need to handle the on tap somehow. And we, of course, need some way to provide whether this is checked. So this is where we can start to add some constructor parameters to our widget itself. So now we can say final bool checked. And we'll go ahead and use our handy IntelliJ refactoring. And once again, I'm just highlighting this and hitting Alt-Enter or Option Return, and hitting create constructor for final fields. And that'll create this nice constructor for us. And you can see it gives us optional parameters and everything else. So it's really handy. But we're still getting some errors. So what we want to do then is, instead of using the checked variable that was previously in my checkbox state, that variable will be provided by the login page to the checkbox. So rather than using a local checked variable, we'll say widget.checked. And that will refer to the value that was passed in to your my checkbox widget. The next thing we'll need to do is, we see that here now, what do we do with this on tap? So this becomes like the next interesting question. So now this form would be able to manage the check state, and it would say, it would be able to say like, pass this through when you make your call to your backend or whatever with the username and password. But now it needs to know how to update this checked from true to false or false to true, depending on whether the user is clicking or tapping on your checkbox. So what we can do then is we can go ahead and start to pass our data down. So we can say checked equals underscore checked. So once again, this is the login page, now passing the checked state to the my checkbox widget. But we still have an error here. And so this is like the next thing we'll need to figure out to do. How do we handle this part? Let's just go ahead and restart and make sure that our checkbox isn't working. It's not with the changes we made. So now what we need to do is not only be able to provide a checked value, but we need to be able to provide a callback function. So a callback function is just exactly what we provide to gesture detector, right? The gesture detector is a widget that takes in a function called onTap. We can actually do the exact same thing with our own widgets, right? So we can actually take in a function that will be called every time someone taps on the widget, and it'll report, what they should be working with. So whether it'll be true or false. So let's go ahead and create that type of thing. Just 1 second, need a quick drink. Alrighty. So we want to take in our own callback function. So this syntax might look a little bit crazy if you're new to Flutter or Dart, but what we're doing is we're going to say we want to take in a function that doesn't return anything, so it returns void. And what this will do is this will take in a Boolean of checked. And we'll call this on checkbox changed. Okay, great. So we've got on checkbox changed. Now this is some random function, but what do we actually do with it? So what we can do is, once again, we can use our handy IntelliJ refactoring tools to add on checkbox changed. And just to make sure we remember to actually use these things, we'll just say, hey, these are both required now. Now, if we looked at where we're actually using my checkbox up here, we would see, hey, the parameter on checkbox changed is now required. So what do we want to do with this? Now, what we want to do with this is we'll actually get whether or not the checkbox is true or false based on what the user is tapping. And then we can call set state in here. So we'll say checked equals checked. Now, within my checkbox, we're not calling this function from anywhere yet, right? But we already have that on tap handler. So this is where we can say, hey, whenever the user taps on this thing, we'll just call that on checkbox changed method with the opposite of whatever they passed in originally. Now, if we make all of these changes and we go ahead and restart our application, we should see that our checkbox is actually working now. And if you were to submit the form, you would be able to access this checked variable from the form itself. So from the login page or the login form itself. So rather than the login form having to create a widget and then somehow reach into that widget to get its current state, this is the really key insight, that we're going to instead pass that state down into the checkbox widget along with a callback function that can run anytime it changes. Now, this might seem really simple, but this is actually super duper fundamental to Flutter, because we've talked about before, like I created Redux and Scope Model and like all these other things, or I didn't create Scope Model, actually I just ported it, but and I didn't even create Redux either, I just ported it as well. I didn't create anything, I just trying things out. And what I really came down to, and I've actually seen other people mention this, is that like fundamentally all you need to do is be able to provide values to your widgets and be able to handle when those values change in some way. So this might seem simple, but this My Checkbox widget will work with any type of state management or architecture solution you've got, right? It's just taking in a value and it's responding to a callback. And so it doesn't matter what kind you use. If you're building your widgets like this, then your widgets will work anywhere, which is really cool. Okay, so we've actually got a functional checkbox, but there's one more thing I want to do, which is I want to animate this a little bit more. So this is the part that I've also seen, actually even some fairly advanced developers get tripped up on. So now we've got this value and we're providing it to my checkbox, and then say that we wanted to have something a little more exciting happen when you're actually toggling this thing. So what we want to do is we actually want to have a custom animation, right? We could use something like Tween Animated Builder, or we could use an animated container. Actually, we can go ahead and start to use those things, and those are really great, right? So like, let's add a little bit of flair to this, right? So we could add like an animated container instead of a regular container. And this is going to tell us that we need a duration of some kind. Okay, cool. So we need to provide a duration. So we could either say like const duration, milliseconds 500, or of course, this looks like something that's good to allow the user to configure. So let's just take 2 seconds to do that. So let's cut it out of there. Let's say final duration, transition duration. And then, of course, we can use our handy option return to code everything we need. And now we've got this transition duration, and we'll give it a default. And now it's telling us we've got an error. So now we'll want to use the rigid transition duration here as well. And we might want to provide some options to animate this, like color-wise, for example. So let's go ahead and provide a color and inactive color. All right, so now we've got an active and an inactive color. Once again, I'm just going to auto-complete my way to victory. And these do not need to be, I guess let's like just provide some defaults for these. So active color, colors.blue. And let's like inactive color equal colors.gray. So now we can actually start to have some small animations, right? So we can use an animated container, and we'll say, okay, the border. Now, when the border is color, we should say when it's checked, then we want its animation, its color to be widget.activeColor. Otherwise, we want it to be the inactive color. Okay, sweet. Oh, I need to refresh because I introduced a couple new variables, but we're good here. So now you can see, I'm not sure if you can see when I'm zooming in or not, but hopefully you can, that our widget is now starting to be slightly animated. But this usually isn't what people are talking about when they talk about custom animations with an animated container. But we can actually do something exactly like the animated container. So what we can do is we can say that we want to control our own animation controller. So what we'll need is we'll need to mix in the single ticker provider state mixin, which allows us to create our own animation controllers. And then in init state, we'll need to create the animation controller. So we'll go ahead and do that here. And it needs to provide two things, which is the vsync, which we get from using the single ticker provider state mixin. And the second thing we'll need is a duration. So, hey, we can just use our normal widget transition duration. And then, of course, just to clean up after ourselves, we will want to dispose of this thing as well. So controller.dispose when our widget goes away. Okay, so now we actually aren't doing anything with this animation controller right now. But what we'd like to do is we would like to, when the user first clicks on on the checkbox, we want to essentially, rather than just maybe showing or hiding this thing, let's like change the scale of the icon itself. So let's go ahead and do that. So instead of using just using a widget checked and say like displaying one thing or the other, we'll use a scale transition. The child will once again be the icon checkmark, but the scale transition will also require an animation. Now, luckily our controller is in animation, so we can just pass that through. Okay, so now we've got a scale transition and a child icon. So I'm going to go ahead and hot refresh because otherwise it's not set that up. And of course, if we click on it, we can see that it is updating and that the state is changing, and our animated container is actually working. But we can see that we don't have any checkmark icon, right? So we can see that we are getting a new value, but we're not responding to that value when we get it. And this is where did update widget comes into play. So this is a method on the state classes that you can use, and it's really, really handy for driving animations. So what we can do is every time new parameters are passed into a myCheckbox widget, then this function will be called, and you can actually do different things with it. So in here, what we can say is we can say if the widget is checked and it wasn't checked, right? So we have the old widget configuration here. So if it is checked now and it wasn't checked before, and what we want to do is we actually want to drive our animation forward. Else, if the widget is no longer checked, but it was checked, then we know that we actually want to hide it. We want to hide the checkbox. So we're going to just say controller.reverse. Now what we've done is if we go ahead and hot reload this thing, should see that we have a scale animation happening already. So this is pretty cool. If you wanted to, you could play around with this. So I don't know, like the animation controller is a little silly right now. Like it's like lower bound is 0, so it's just completely hidden. You can make it like 0.5 if you wanted to, something like that. And then it would expand from like lower to smaller. And you could start to put a color tween on there so that the icon, when it's active, is blue as well. So there's a lot more you can do. But what I wanted to say is that this did update widget is really clutch because it allows you to essentially respond to changes in the widget configuration, and it caches the previous value, which is really important because then you can make decisions like this, like if the widget is checked and it wasn't checked, then we want to run this animation. Otherwise, we don't want to run this animation. So that's really handy. And that sort of brings us to the end of where I'd like to get us. So if we take a look at what we've now got a myCheckbox widget that takes in the value of checked and allows the parent to dictate what happens when the checkbox is actually changed. And the parent is responsible for providing the checked value to this widget. This widget shouldn't hold it internally. And again, the reason we want to do it that way is because it's very difficult in Flutter for parents to reach into their children to see what their current state is. You can do it, but it's pretty ugly and it's not really that great. So it's usually much better to allow the parent to manage that kind of state and just pass it down to these really kind of simple or dumb widgets that just render and create the right animations. And of course, you can allow other types of configurations with your widgets, like the transition duration or active or inactive color. And you can drive animations by listening to changes in did update widget. All right, that's all I've got. So if anyone has questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much, Brian. It was a pleasure to hear and to see this checkbox. We have one question. We don't have time for the questions, but still. So Visual Studio Code versus Android Studio. Looks like you prefer Visual Studio Code.
That's Android Studio. That's IntelliJ.
What? It looks like I missed something.
No.
Wow.
I have a super, I don't know, like with that, whatever editor I've got, I always really customize it to my liking. And so you can see that I basically hide everything in IntelliJ. You can see here I've got all my stuff. So I still use, like, I don't know if I need like my, to commit, this is in a Git repo, so I can't commit anything. But, yeah, this is all IntelliJ. If you want to know how I customize it, I use the material icons or material theme UI package. And then I have my own custom color schemes and everything. And then what a big thing that I do, I don't know, this is like kind of controversial, but I think that tabs are madness. And I do not use any tabs in any application. And instead I use this like Command E on Mac. I don't know what it is on Windows, but it just brings up your most recently used files. And you can even like type in here. So if like you were to like look for like a login page, it would actually filter it. So like that might be why people think it's not IntelliJ, because I basically just hide everything. So.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Brian. It was a really nice talk. And if you have, audience, if your audience have any questions, you please reach Brian anywhere, like in comments or in social networks. And we are going to the next speaker. Next speaker is... And our next speaker is Murph Arslan. So she is a GDG organizer and VTM, Women Tech Makers, and I should look at the screen because it's a really complicated word for me. It's Eskişehir, I believe. So yeah, and Murph will talk about Flutter and Rive and about animations, about like how to combine everything together, about designers, and about everything. And Murph was so kind to prepare her talk as a video. So let's take a look.
Hello everyone, my name is Merve. I work as a freelance illustrator and developer. I love combining my designs with code. Today I am going to tell you about a tool that helps me to combine design and animation with code. It's hard to convert complex interactions to code, and we, as the developers, usually avoid these complex designs. But simple designs rarely make a difference. So now I will talk about a tool that allows you to design complex animations and makes it easier to convert it to code. Rive is a powerful, easy, and free-to-use animation tool. Lets designers and developers to create high-quality animations for their projects. You may have heard Rive as 2 Dimensions as the company, or Flare as the product, but now they are both known as Rive. Rive allows you to design sophisticated interactions and animated icons, loading screens, game characters, much more. Totally online. You can design and give life to them in this one tool. So, what makes us love Rive that much? First of all, you don't need to worry about downloading, installing, and licenses. Just open your web browser and start designing, or make a change on your projects, anywhere you are connected. Rive has an open design model. It makes it easy to share knowledge with each other. Let's say you think of a really complex animation, needs a lot of bones, deformation, and a little bit of magic. But you don't actually know how to do it. Instead of searching it online, desperately looking for information, look what other people did on Rive, analyze it and learn it. On Rive, assets work in real time. You don't need to write tons of code, which solves the problem, makes developers avoid complex designs. So you can make stunning designs for your apps. And everything you see on Rive is what you will see in your apps. I want to show you these. You can review different designs on the Rive site, and you can be inspired. You can examine the animation structure by entering the design. I especially love viewing GC Toons animations. Let's get back to some of my other favorites. Interactive animation. Let's explore more with some examples made in Rive and take a look at what we can do with its features. You see Teddy. Teddy can move its head and track the text field in the text box. Teddy can react to the user's inputs. So this is a good example for interactive animations. Here's another example. This is Rocking Penguin. In Rocking Penguin, we see Rive's animation mixing feature. Here, we mix headbanging animation with the walk cycle. Also, we see that we can control how much these two are mixed or control the speed of headbanging animation in real time. So it's up to us to make the penguin listen to soft rock or hard rock. One more example on animation mixing. Here, when the user pulls down, we zoom into the scene. In this scene, multiple star animations and Earth's animation are mixed. Bones. Bones is a natural way to give life to our characters and objects like trees, flags, chains. Bone animations are structured to complete each other and blend. This makes our file size small, makes animations smooth. Also, we can control them with code dynamically. So, where did the Flutter and Rive friendship begin? Rive started working with Flutter a few years ago for Google I/O 18. They showed Flutter How to Load game to the participants. It's multiplayer UI built competition game. Players are competing to complete given tasks by adding Flutter widgets to their apps. Later, in 2018, they released the History of Everything app to show pure power of Flutter and Rive. It's still available on App Store and Play Store. User can scroll through the timeline, zoom on it, and read about history of entire Earth. For Google I/O 19, they showed Flutter Developer Quest. Rive and Flutter team came together and developed this game. In this game, we build a team of Flutter developers and control the app development operations. The game is open sourced and you can find its source code at GitHub. It's also available on App Store and Play Store. One of my favorite Rive Flutter Works Dash demo. Does anyone like Dash here? They made a web app called Dash Demo with Flutter. To benchmark both Flutter's Rive and Rive's power on the web. In this app, we add dashes as much as we want and move them around. Everything you see is in real time, and you can go up to 20 dashes, yet all animations were really smooth. Of course, Rive didn't stop and announced beta version of Rive 2, and there are people testing it. With Rive 2, you can team up with your friends and work together. New editor is made to get better performance and support team cooperation. Wherever you are, just open Rive 2, create a common workspace, invite other members of your team, and work together at the same time. With that, it will be easier for product designers to follow a consistent design language, for game designers to share their designs with their team, and for engineers to get more insight on design process and how assets are used. It will be easier to get all members of your team. Designers and developers work together to create something special, beautiful, and useful. Just think about how you can utilize a power like that and how useful it is during these times. The times we need to work far away from our team, yet desire to build something special from our homes. Fluent animations. You can create smoother animations, which means change its speed, don't lose quality. A few weeks ago, I was making a small loading screen with Rive 2, and it seemed too fast to me. The loop just wasn't satisfactory. I just wanted it to make it slower, and if I replace timestamps, it will be too much work. Since there's too many timestamps, instead of that, I just changed its speed of 70%, and it was still at 60 frames. Buttery smooth animation. Rive 2 supports multiple fills and stroke on the same objects. All of them has its own features. Can be animated to make layered effects. This delicious cake is designed by GC2, and it shows just a small feature, but it makes our job significantly easier and our projects look better. In this example, they showed a new drive order. These existed before Rive 2, but now it will be a lot more controllable. In this way, our 2D animation looks like it is in the 3D space. Also, you see improved deformation of the page object, which makes it look more 3D. New runtimes are optimized for more platforms with web, iOS, Android, Flutter, C++, and Unity support. You can use Rive animations almost everywhere. Whether you develop games, apps, websites, write a few codes, and Make your projects look beautiful by just using really small size Rive files. To follow Rive's development and be able to test new features of Rive 2, register for closed beta on Rive's website. They announced a desktop version of Rive 2 for all those who want to get unlimited power of Rive 2 in their hands. Rive just wants you to create and gives you all opportunities they can. With Rive, it's really easy to design, animate, and use what you did on your projects. A tool with all these features allows you to create real-like animations, sophisticated interactions, and beautiful UIs. Works perfect with Flutter, has really small file sizes, and it's fully online, easy to use, free to use. All these make Rive a really valuable design tool. So open a new tab, go to Rive, start designing, animate, and use it on your Flutter apps. You can follow my Twitter and take a look at some of my small projects on GitHub. I try to upload my projects since I started to learn Flutter. And thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.
Yeah, big thanks, Merv, and subscribe to her Twitter, and yeah, ask a question, because looks like people in the comments have a lot of questions about Rive, and looks like checkbox is really hot of our topic. And right now, please welcome on the stage a very special guest, super special guest. It is. Please welcome. It's Majid. Okay. No. Yeah, Majid. So, hello, Mr. Bird. And you're muted. Really professional. Majid, you're muted.
You hear me?
Right now? Yeah, we can
I
hear
am
you.
back again. Hi.
So, you would like to talk about activities, right?
Yes, I'm back again to talk about activities once more and give you more details and what you can do and why you needed actually a ticket. Where many ask, the conference is free and we are streaming on YouTube. Why do we need a ticket? And that's the reason. The reason that you need a ticket is because you want to win a prize. You want to win this little dash, maybe. Or maybe not, depends on you. So if you want to win something in our conference, most of our contests, they accept either your ticket reference or ticket unique ID, which we explained about that in the beginning of the conference. But let's talk about quickly, let's go through the activities and see what do we have. So you have several options. So I'm pretty sure if you go ahead and take one of these activities, so you probably win something. And even if you don't,
I like this. I like this probably.
Yeah, you know, because the gifts are limited, but you have to take your chance, right? So you have to give it a try. But let's move on. So a lot of prizes. So the first thing that I want to say is the @sign company app contest. It's actually about privacy first Flutter app. So you need to create something, and the details is on their website. So you just click on this link and go to their website and see what do they have, and take the challenge. It's not that difficult. Actually, it's open-ended. You are free to do whatever you want. Just go ahead and do that. But the prizes for that particular contest is quite tempting. You see, they're gonna give away €500 for up to 5 winners.
That's a lot.
That's good. That's good. You see? So, and another one is probably you want to go ahead. It's Get Stream IO contest or Stream IO contest. So they have actually two things for you to do. The first is the code lab that you can go ahead and do it. It's very quick. It's also particularly created for Flutter Vikings. Here is where you need your reference and ticket ID, by the way. So you need to have that to attend this activity. So by just finishing that, perhaps you will win something. Just go ahead and take that. That is easy. Another one is day contest, Build Viking. And that contest, you first of all, go ahead and tweet about it. Hashtag Build Viking and ping us, ping GetAStream.io and take the challenge. The challenge is quite easy. Again, it's built particularly for Flutter Viking conference. And you go ahead and just read about that. And once you're done, submit your activities. And they're gonna actually judge that. And some of the judges are from their end, and some of the judges are from Flutter community. From Flutter Vikings board members. So you go ahead and take the challenge and win a nice prize from them as well. You see the more details over there. So, and it's about Flutter Viking as well. We have also a contest for you. It's very simple. Just go ahead and try to create Flutter Vikings logo and publish it on CodePen and send us an email. We will give away gifts for you, a lot of good gifts. So, and the details are already there. For this one, we haven't we had actually a good thing. The first 3 ones will get something very cool, Dash.
Oh.
So go ahead and take this challenge. For the other 2 contests also, the first winner will get a Dash as well, on top of other prizes.
But what if I just put an image there, you know, like?
No, you have to. Well, we will double
Oh.
check your paint. It's not. You wanna cheating, right? No, you
Kind
can't,
of, yeah, why not?
Evgeny.
Why
So
not?
you have to do something. You have to do some real code. So we're gonna
Yeah.
check that. Yes. So social media contest. Just share one of these. Tweet us. We check that every day. We pick some. About 5 persons, and then we come to stream on the stage, and we give away gifts to those persons. So take your chance, go ahead, and that is the simplest one for sure. You can just tweet about us and win something. So we have several live activities. One of them is right after me, off the stage when I go. So what you will see is App Circle quiz, though they will tell you what is this quiz about and how you will win and what is the prizes. But you see already the details on the website here. So full complete reference book. So Alberto will join us tomorrow, and we're gonna run a very nice looking quiz together. And that's going to be where you need again your ticket ID. We need to validate that you are one of our attendees who registered, and then you can attend, and there will be a lot of books and ebooks. If you want this book and you want to learn more, just go ahead and join us tomorrow, and let's have these activities going. Diversity activity with Danielle tomorrow again. It's gonna be amazing one, and that's one of the simplest one. So you can simply join us and win. Don't worry about it. The prize is a surprise. We'll share it tomorrow during the talk. Second activity.
Looks like
And last one.
Looks like these beards help you with the poetry, you know, price, surprise,
Oh, really?
like a Viking saga.
I am so sorry. Maybe I should move away a little bit from the microphone.
No, it's totally okay. And you know, people in comments, they call you, because you are giving prizes, people call you Viking Santa.
I am. Hello, my friends.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go and talk about Code Magic. We will have also one more contest, adding the Microsoft contest. We will add it to the website shortly, and you can learn about that. The Code Magic one, again, is a quiz, very simple. You can win. And the Microsoft one is also very simple. Just build something and ship it to them. That's very simple, but the prizes are so valuable. So these are the contests. So and also the activities. Now you know where to go and how to check that. Just go to fluttervikings.com/activities. You learn more, and we will also update this page regularly. So if you have more update, more prizes, we will add them there. But people will ask, like, maybe a question: how can I get my prizes? So depends on the activity. You will get in a different way. But most of our activities have somehow a virtual gift, except this dash or some of our physical gifts. So we're gonna ship it to you. We will contact you by email. You have already registered and got your ticket. We know your email. So we will send you an email, and you can go ahead afterwards to communicate with us.
Majid, serious question, really serious question. So Maria in comments asking both quizzes happening simultaneously, like November 18th, day 2.
Okay, that's a good question. These activities, some of them, like I said, you have to go and read. So some of them, the contest one, like the app company contest, a stream contest, logo contest, they are ongoing. So you can start right now. And for the first two, you can finish it up by end of the week. But for logo contest, you need to finish it by end of the conference. So, but the quiz one, like social media, no worries. You can do it anytime during the conference or in these 3 days. We just capture the hashtags and then we pick the best one. And for these live activities, every day we have 2 activities. Today, after me, so we have App Circle one, and then we also need to have another activity it's actually an activity which is going to be explaining more about the AdSign company today. Tomorrow we will have full complete reference quiz. So that's tomorrow. The time is, we will do it live on the stage. You should not leave this the stream. You will be there and we do it together. You'll learn about that in 10 minutes how we will do it. Or even less than 10 minutes, maybe in 1 minute actually. So the next talk is already, I see that Barak is joining us. So, and Diversity Code Magic one is also the same. We do it live on the stage together. So let's do it together, and you will learn in the first activity right now, you'll learn how you can participate, how you can earn some gifts. But my most important point is for these contests that you can take it anytime from now until the deadline. So you just go ahead and start submitting your submissions. That's very good. So send us email, send us tweet, and send us comments. We will answer all of your questions. Don't worry.
And it looks like we should start right now.
Yes. So let's welcome Barak then. I'll leave the stage. My friend.
Finally, I have a stage. Hi, Barak.
Hi.
And
well, thank you much for the great show.
Yeah,
it's going fine, and we are happy to be on the first activity. But before starting with the quiz, we'll have a short presentation for you so that you actually get prepared for. We first get you prepared for the quiz, and then we have the quiz, so you have a better chance at getting great prizes with our quiz. So I'll talk about briefly, just under 10 minutes, what is mobile CI/CD and why do you need mobile CI/CD right now. And as myself, I'm the product manager at AppCircle.io, so it's a mobile CI/CD platform, and of course we support Flutter in the end-to-end lifecycle. And here, after talking about mobile CI/CD, we'll have a very quick live quiz, and you'll be able to learn learn more about it in a few minutes. So let's quickly start with our presentation. I'll just talk about what is CI/CD, why do you need it, and of course the benefits, followed by the live quiz. So let's get started. And well, you may be already familiar with CI/CD and also CT, and of course it's a very broad concept, but I'll just summarize it in very few in short words, so that you at least have an idea, even if you are until now, if you are unsure if you should implement CI/CD or how you should implement CI/CD. So we'll start with CI. Which is in broad terms an automated way of building pushed code. Of course, there are other ways to automate, other ways to build applications, but CI in general allows you to build your applications automatically within a pipeline, as we call it. And this pipeline can be enhanced with workflows. So in a standard process, you would have to do your code analysis separately, manually. In a well-established CI process, you will have some certain workflow steps. You will build your application. Before building your application, you will have some checkpoints. After building your application, you will have some checkpoints. And this will ensure a successful application build with CI. And which is then followed by CD, continuous delivery. Here, you might have also heard the term continuous deployment in some other stacks. But in mobile apps, you have to deliver the actual binary. So just unlike a server platform, you cannot just deploy your application to the end users. You have to deliver a binary. So in mobility, continuous delivery is more relevant than continuous deployment. So in continuous delivery, we are talking about the automated delivery of the output itself, the binary itself. And again, it's all about automation. And here we have tasks like code signing, application versioning, sharing the app with the testers, uploading the app to the app stores, or deploying the application to testing platforms, and so on. So this is a very quick overview of what is CI and CD. But there is also a third sibling, which is usually overlooked, but as important as the others, the continuous testing part. So you'll also have to, especially in mobility, testing is crucial. So you should never underestimate the importance of having a proper testing flow, whether automated or whether manual, doesn't matter at all. But continuous testing is a very important part of CI and CD. So you should consider CD along with CT all the time as a general overview. And let's have a bit more. So these are the concepts, but why do we need these concepts in our lives in mobile world? Why do we need these concepts? So before establishing a CI/CD pipeline, you would have such a complicated manual process. So you develop your application, then you build it yourself, or you deploy it to some Git repository. Someone else takes your code and builds it manually. You have to then get the outputs from that machine or from your local machine, send it to testers, or send it to the app stores manually, and once testers test these applications, then they'll have some feedback, then the whole process starts again, and so on, so on. Even describing these processes are boring, and consider actually living through these processes all the time when you want to have a new version of your app released. And at the end, each of these handoff points are prone to human errors, so the risk is high. And also, you get dependent on certain people, certain platforms, many different tools to manage all these handoff points. And in things like Flutter, where you'll have two different pipelines, a separate one for Android, a separate one for iOS, a separate one for web, then you multiply these complexities by 3. So this is the reason why if you can, you should automate all of these processes. Fortunately, with mobile CI/CD, it is actually possible to automate the full life cycle without any compromises at all. So you can build you can just focus on developing your application, And once you push your code, even before pushing your code, your application will be built automatically in the background. It will be deployed to the testing platforms automatically. Then you will have, of course, automated testing, along with manual testing, of course. And once the testers approve your application, rebuilding the application is a breeze. You just change a few configs and you just rebuild in the background, and then even up to the App Store, you can automate the process. So you will have a full life cycle that is fully automated, eliminated from third-party dependencies, human dependencies, reducing the risk of human error. So this is valid for even the smallest of your application, because there are so many benefits from having an actual mobile CI/CD pipeline established in place. So regardless of your project size, you should have such a CI/CD process established, and there are many capable mobile CI/CD tools in the market that would suit your needs regarding whether you're an enterprise, whether you're a small developer. You can find a good solution for you. And there are actually very visible benefits of it. Of course, first of everything, you will have higher productivity and, of course, lower costs. Because as you might have also observed, developers spend in average 20% of their time for building their application, waiting for the builds to complete, managing the signing identities, trying to juggle between development and delivery processes. So by eliminating the manual operations, you can gain 20% of your effort and focus on your core work. This is for sure. And by this, also another advantage is that you will have faster release cycles, because now the builds are no longer dependent on your local machine or your build machine. You can get automated builds with any triggers you'd like, pushes, pull requests, schedules even. So your release cycles will get shorter, which enable you to get faster feedback and fast response as another benefit, because with faster release cycles comes faster deliveries. With faster deliveries comes faster feedback. So instead of having a gigantic release after a week or two, you will have smaller release maybe every day, maybe even half a day. So you will be able to identify the issues independently in smaller batches, instead of trying to manage a huge 2-week release. And with the faster feedback, of course, you will have a higher testing volume, because with CI/CD, of course, as we talk about continuous testing, you should be implementing an automated testing environment, and you should be increasing your testing volume. So you will be able to test more of your application in more detail, combined with automated and manual testing. So you will have a higher quality application with the faster feedback. And along with this, you will have much better visibility of your delivery performance. This is especially important for teams. If you are working in large teams, then there is the issue of who pushed which code, which release includes which features, and so on. And someone takes a build and no one knows which commit that build belongs to, and so on. So establishing a mobile CI/CD pipeline enables you to increase the accountability. With higher traceability, you will have much better visibility of the process. Even if the full process is automated, you will actually have a much better visibility than having all those manual operations and handoffs. And you will have so many checkpoints. You can have checkpoints before the build, after the build, during the build. You can have so many checkpoints with early warnings and so on. So you will have much better control over the full process, which will then, of course, evolve to a continuous improvement culture. Even if you are just a 1 or 2 people developer, or you're a large enterprise, no matter, it doesn't matter. And finally, this is also very important for the Flutter community. Establishing a mobile CI/CD pipeline isolates you from the complexities of mobile applications. As per the stats, most of the Flutter developers use Windows or Linux. it's only 20% or so who are actually using Mac. So you need some external solutions to build your applications for iOS. And you need to learn all about the processes. It's not easy. It's expensive. So with a Adapt CI/CD tool, you can have the platform-specific best practices already implemented for you. You don't need to set up things from scratch. You can just connect your repository and forget the rest. So you can get your iOS builds in the cloud with limited knowledge of Max and Xcode. And in a similar way, you can set up multiple pipelines. You don't need to manage 3 different release processes. You can set up multiple pipelines, and with automation, everything will be cared for. And this, of course, comes with easier maintenance. For instance, again, as an example of iOS, you don't need to keep maybe 5 different versions of Xcode on your local machine. You can get your builds from on any Xcode version and so on. And there are, of course, still so much to cover. This was just a very quick overview. And for instance, things like difference between mobile CI/CD and other stacks. We just talked about delivery versus deployment and, of course, best practices. And I'm happy to talk more about on them, but not here. So you can drop me an email at burak@appcircle.io, and I'm happy to share these slides and more resources with you regarding mobile CI/CD, because it's a never-ending story. There are always new things, and it's much more live than any other CI/CD stack that you might see. And next, here now we have our live quiz coming up.
Yay.
Okay, so just a quick round of instructions first. So we are using the Mentimeter platform. So on your phone or on your desktop, just go to menti.com and type in this code. In a few slides, you will be asked to enter your enter your name. Please enter your ticket reference ID as your name. So once you win, we can contact you through your ticket reference ID. Plus, you will see your ticket reference ID in the leaderboards. So here, I guess people started joining.
Yeah.
Yeah, people started joining. So here it's all about showing your passion for mobile CI/CD. The questions are not so hard, and actually most of the answers were already present in the presentation, and you can win great prizes. And now let's wait for a minute or so for people to join. You just need to enter your ticket ID, and we're ready to start.
Wow.
Oh, wow. People are joining fast. Okay.
So all of these avatars or emojis, it's a people.
Yeah, we have right now 110 live people and increasing. Let's wait for let's wait for a minute or so too.
We can see the Sweden flag there.
Oh no, yeah.
It's not Sweden,
New
it's Norway,
people.
no?
Norway.
I'm terrible at geography.
I keep confusing the flags, but right now there are so many avatars that I lost track who is who is joining and so on. Yeah, I guess we're good to go now, and then 10 people just join just before we can start.
Looks like people squeezing and squeezing.
Yeah, I thought that it would stop after a while, but people are still joining, so I guess we'll need to wait just a tad more. And okay, let's start now. Okay, you will see the questions on your phone screen as well. Just answer it. We'll have 40 seconds for all of the questions. So the first question is about asking, so these Flutter commands are all useful in mobile CI/CD, and we are asking which command is actually not related with having a mobile CI/CD cycle. So all of these commands can be used in a mobile CI/CD pipeline, but 3 of them are very useful for establishing a high quality, best practice process. So let's see the answer.
Looks like people still answering.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oops, I guess. Yeah, great. Most people answered it correctly.
So this is the Flutter Doctor, right?
Yeah, the answer was Flutter Doctor because it's not really useful for analyzing the app quality. Here we have the leaders, and of course, if you answer faster, you'll get more scores. So the second question, this one is directly from the presentation. Which one is a benefit of mobile CI/CD? It's a tricky one though, so you might be answering it wrong if you are trying to answer it quickly.
And the options are reduced productivity, shorter release cycles, increased app slowness, all of the above. A really tricky question. I don't know. I would stick to the first one. But maybe it's...
Yeah, let's see the results. Okay. Oh, but some people just was tricked with all of the above.
Yeah, because...
Great. Let's see the leaderboards. Oh, some people really moved up, but the competition is going strong.
Yeah, it's really tight.
And the third question is, which one is, again, a question from the presentation, which one is a major concept that is an important part of mobile CI/CD? If you listen to the presentation carefully, I guess this question should be a piece of cake. What we
can say that the right answer will start with the continuous.
Yeah, that's for sure. But we have continuous discussion, continuous running, continuous testing, and continuous application. So, they all have their relevancies. So, 5 more seconds to go. Yeah, great. But I'm surprised to see other answers go through also. And we now have new competitors closing in. But again, wow, we now have a tie coming through to the last 2 questions.
It looks like people spamming the right answer in the comments. That's not the right place to.
Yes, which one? So which one can be used for testing apps as a part of the CI/CD cycle? Here we have the options of online device farms. You can use in-browser simulators or emulators. You can use app distribution to testers, or you can use all of the above. Let's see. Well, in the previous question, all of the above was a tricky one. So I'm not sure how it will go in this question.
I would stick to the first one. That's my rule. Just stick to the first answer, and that's it.
At least you would gain points for having it. And here, of course, this question was a different one. All the answers were actually correct. Because testing is so important in mobile app development, mobile CI/CD, you will have so many options to test your application. And now we are coming to the final question. And let's see the results. Okay. The demand is so high that it takes time to results to compile. Never mind. Let's then switch to the final question, and we'll see the leaderboards afterwards. And which one is not a challenge that can be alleviated by mobile CI/CD? So this one is a negative connotation. We are asking which one is not a challenge. So we have the code signing complexities, we have the environment variable management, we have the testing target fragmentation, and none of the above. So the question is like asking it from the other way, but this will be more like a tiebreaker question. Let's see how people do it.
And people still answering in the comments. This is really nice, but you will not get the prize.
Fortunately, we will have offline quizzes for the second and third days as well. So even if you don't win anything in this quiz, you'll still have a chance to win great prizes. And now let's see who wins the great prize. Who wins the first place? Okay, 40L31, you're the winner. And we also have other winners. We see, of course, we see some people did not write their IDs, but anyway, we'll get in touch. The prizes are for the top 5, so we'll get in touch with you based on your ticket ID and contact you about how you can get your prize and how you can access it.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
thank you everyone.
Yeah, thanks Burak, and thank AppCircle for this quiz. And before I will present our next speaker, I would discuss one thing. Someone in the comments said that the quote, "Yep, Dart is similar to Java," but this is totally incorrect. This is this is not true, because just stay with me. Like JavaScript is way better than Java, because like it's Java and script, and it's obviously better than Java. And Dart is better than JavaScript. That means that Dart is better than Java. Thank you very much for your attention. That was a quick explanation. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And our next speaker is Mohammed.
Hey man, how are you doing?
Good. Looks like we have two people in this day from Berlin. You and Brian are from Berlin.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right now I'm in Ankara, in my hometown. But yeah, like, I mean, I'm touching all the spaces. Like right now, like one of the speakers, Merve, was from Turkey, so I'm Turkish. Brian was living in Berlin. I'm living in Berlin. The AppCircle people are from Turkey. I'm from Turkey, so I'm everywhere, man.
Yeah. And also you are a GDE for Dart and Flutter.
Yes,
so
sir.
You definitely know something about.
Yeah, I mean, like I know some stuff, but I don't know everything, obviously. But I will try to teach the stuff that I know. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, and today you're gonna talk about how to, like, you have your apple, you have your pineapple, you know, this thing.
Pineapple, apple man, you know?
Yeah.
It's simple.
So you have your application, you have Flutter, and you would like to install. So stage is yours. Go on. Is it me, or we have some problems with the internet connection? Looks like yes, we have some problems.
I mean, like, there is the this is the first time that it happened, so
yeah, everything is okay now.
Okay, yeah. So I will share my screen just in case in the same time, so to keep everything in line. Awesome. Maybe after our pineapple apple pen joke, the internet decided to die.
Hope not.
Yeah, we have more of these. Cool, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that was quick. So yeah, hello everyone. I'm really excited to be here. This Flutter Vikings event is one of Majid's masterpiece, I must say. Like, he has been working a lot about this, and he had given me a chance to luckily be part of this event. So yeah, thank you all the committee members that we work together, and yeah, thank you all the listeners. Yeah, let's start. So I will talk a bit about myself. I'm Salih. I'm a Flutter and Dart GD, so I've been doing Flutter apps over 3 years now, more or less. And yeah, right now I'm working as a senior mobile engineer at a company called Superlist. Basically, our main product is in Flutter. We are building a desktop application right now that is the successor of Wunderlist, if you have ever used. I love community work a lot. Like, if you know me, you know that I'm in love with community work. So I have founded 2 communities. One of them is Flutter Turkey, and I co-founded the Flutter Berlin with like 2 good friends of mine. So let's continue. Today I will talk about how to add your Flutter applications to your ongoing project. And why is this important? I think like this topic, I talked about this topic at DevFest Istanbul like last year. It was part of this on-demand video, and it is a growing topic every day. And this is a really important topic because you won't always have a chance to start from scratch for your projects, right? So you will be basically like having an entry point to start off with your project, right? And this talk will be perfect for you if you're in that situation. Also, you might want to use some of the Flutter's features like animations and stuff in some part of your application. This will also be helpful for you to understand how you can add this to your project. And last but not least, the important point that you need to keep in mind is like adding Flutter to your ongoing project. If you want to rewrite everything, is really important because you don't want to block the ongoing processes as well, because there's business needs at the same time, technical needs, so you need to make everyone happy. So let's talk about how you can add the Flutter applications in your project. So when you think about it, it's like quite straightforward actually. Like when you have Android Studio working for you with the Flutter extension, you can just use the tool to add a new Flutter module, and this will be doing everything for you. But we need to understand what we are doing step by step and what it does behind the scenes in case you want to change something, right? So first, let's talk about how you can create the module that you want to add to your project, like how you are going to create a project that you're going to add in your other project. So you will basically write the command like flutter create -t module, then your organization name and the name of your module. This will create basically a Flutter module in the path that you're in, and everything that you're going to be doing about, for example, Android in this case, because right now we're talking about Android, right? It will be hidden underneath a .android folder. Everything that will be doing your setup for you, but you are not going to be touching that part. You will be making your changes alongside your regular Android package in your Flutter app. And once you create this, it should be a sibling folder to your ongoing project, right? So this way you will be able to reach out to that. After you create this, first thing that you need to add is for the Flutter, you need to have Android, you need to have Java 8 features because Flutter's Android engine uses Java 8 features. So before you attempt to connect your Flutter module to your project, please be sure that you are adding this. Oh, I just punched my microphone. Once you add this, then you are good to go. Now you have 2 options to add your project, 2 ways to add your Flutter project into your ongoing project. Like, first of all, is adding it as an AAR project. Again, if you have the Android Studio, it is super easy. You can just go to build Flutter and build an AAR. But right now we will talk about what an AAR is and how we can add it. So AAR is basically it means it's Android archive. It's basically a library folder format that is created for Android. It is different than the Java library format. It bundles shared resources, layouts, C++ libraries, and etc. So it can be huge. And why is it useful for us? Because with this one, you don't need to have an Flutter SDK installed with your peers. So this way you can basically share an AAR, and that folder will be working out of the box for your teammates. But how you can build an AAR with Flutter if you don't have this Android Studio here? So first of all, you will run a command called flutter build AAR. more specifically, this command creates a local repository, and this local repository will be added to your app, like build Gradle file under the app for you. And under this file, you will basically be adding, let me use this pointer here. You will have the local repository here in a way that is created. This is the path, this is the name of your module, and this part is going to stay the same. Again, the name of your package, but the rest will stay the same because Flutter is trying to understand what you have. One good thing about AAR is you can actually host it in other platforms, and this way you will be able to just like share it via, I don't know, like Jetpack or something like this. I forgot the name of it. It's been a long time since I did Android, but you can share it via Maven, for example. The other way of doing it is adding the module source code. Good thing about this is if your module, the Flutter module, and your project is like an ongoing project at the same time, this is the logical thing to do. If your Flutter project is already there, then the logical thing to do is basically to use the AR. So you will be the decision maker there. Once you create the module as we have shown before with like Flutter create -t blah blah blah, then your project will be ready. For adding this, you will assign this newly created folder inside again your settings.gradle file. And your settings.gradle file, you will be using the name of the folder that in a way that you created, and it will have a specific Groovy file inside this hidden Android. So this will do the settings for you. And last but not least, you will be needing to add this as a library project inside your Gradle. So this way, you will be able to reach out to the code that you're writing. One thing to keep in mind though, you need to write it exactly like this on the screen that you see. You need to write implementation, project, and Flutter. You cannot change the name at the moment. You will be using that. So how you can add Flutter to your iOS projects? Let's talk about this. So basically, there are multiple ways to do it as well. One more thing, as you see here, you can do it with CocoaPods. It's super easy. And with 5 simple steps, you will be able to have it running. But again, we are going to learn how it is working. So again, you will be writing the same module here. And this module will be creating .ios hidden subfolder containing all the Xcode workspace that you need for running this iOS part. And after that, you will be having different ways to add this to your project. Recommended way is to use CocoaPods, and this way you can share the information with your colleagues easier. You should be adding your custom iOS code to your own existing, again, like application project, not to the .ios part, because .ios and .android part are basically your settings that you're going to be using for making your setup for the project. So do not change it, do not even source control it, just use the ones that you always see in your projects, or like basically Android and iOS, not .android and .ios parts. This will be helping you to create your own module. You don't have to, as I said, like do the version controlling. Once you do the Flutter pub get, it will be generating it for you anyway. So first way of embedding Flutter to iOS project. Before we saw adding to the Flutter Android, and in here it is embedding, because in iOS we are doing the embedding actually. Because like this method requires every developer working on your project to have a locally installed version of Flutter, because once you have the Flutter, it will be easier for you to use this approach. And second thing that you need to keep in mind is this helps you to have a rapid iteration over the most up-to-date versions of your libraries and Flutter modules. Let's continue. Once you create this module, after that, it will be giving you a Ruby file called pod helper. This pod helper is actually helping you to embed your plugins inside the Flutter framework and app framework into your project directly. Your app's debug and release build configurations, are directly the versions of your Flutter app right now, right? Like you won't be having only one version, you will have multiple versions, and Flutter will be this pod helper will be helping you to deal with that easier. And like all of these, like Flutter.framework, this is the engine part, the app.framework, this is the app part. Once they're in, then you can continue with your setup and use it. And once they're there, you will just run this pod directly by simply saying pod install. You need to have your public podspec.yaml file for your module and etc. And basically, once you run this install all Flutter pods, it will go back and call the pod helper, and everything will be coming to you with the latest version possible and working out directly. This is easy because like these files, all of these, you already have it with Flutter itself. So you will be just running it directly for your like from your command line or CI or whatever you want to do actually. The second way is embedding Flutter to your iOS project with Xcode. This is not a recommended way, but this works as well. You can generate the necessary frameworks and embed them directly manually. With the Cocoa project, but automatic. But with this one, it is manually. But like for every time that you make changes in your Flutter module, you need to run a specific command called Flutter build iOS framework to make the latest changes. For this one, see like Flutter build iOS framework, you will add the extra flags at the end and define the output part according to your path that you have for your project. Please always use Flutter.exe framework or app.exe framework for this project. Before that, I was talking about Flutter.framework, but for this one, you need to have XC for Xcode for your setup. To be continued, now you will go to your Xcode, you will open it up. This is I know extra, but you wanted to I wanted to go deeper about what it does directly so you can understand. You will just go to the part that you have the build settings, and in the build settings, you will have different parts for your debug and release and profile, whatever it is, and you will need to drag and drop each possible created Flutter file for you or like iOS profile for you into this. This way, this will be done. The second step will be you will have generated dynamic frameworks, and those will be also added to your project directly inside the Xcode as well. You will just drag and drop these as well, but still it is a bit of time consuming, right? Like you need to add extra code, you need to keep in mind that there will be Flutter plugin registrant and so on and so forth. So this will take some time. You can actually combine these two approaches to make things easier for you. You can call this Flutter build iOS framework task and get the output, then assign this into the pod. So you will be doing this call every time with one single command. Everything is perfect, like right now, right? Like everything seems to be nice, but there are some limitations. Like first of all, you can't run multiple Flutter instances or running in partial screen like fragments and stuff is not working properly right now. Flutter in background, like even simple going to the background operations might cause problems, so you need to be able to handle these on your own with method channels. And hacking multiple Flutter libraries into an application isn't supported, so you can't pack everything at once. You need to deal with them separately. Plugins used in Add to App needs to be part of a special version of the Flutter packages, so they need to be taken care of. Plugins that doesn't support Flutter plugin might have some unexpected behaviors and they might break your application. And as of version 1.17, you need to have Android X. And last but not least, there is no official support for web and desktop yet. So keeping this in mind, what you can do. What you can do is you can check out how you can add an iOS screen and Android screen to your application. Like once you have done the setup, you can talk about how you can add other screens, right? And I have added some resources here. I think the most important one is add-to-app code samples. There are like 7 or 8 code samples. You can just go through them and see how they have structured it according to your operating system. Please bear in mind that for iOS, you need to have Mac OS. For Android, you can do whatever you want. Thank you for listening to me. I think I'm in time, so if they allow me, I can answer some questions if there's any.
Nice, really nice talk, and looks like you have a fan base there because people writing something in the language that I unfortunately don't understand.
I don't understand them either, so it's fine.
Okay, okay. So, and there are a lot of questions. And by the way, if you have any questions, we have 9 minutes to answer. Yeah, is that correct? Looks like that's correct. So, and the big question is about debugging. So, because it's always a problem when you try to install something inside other thing.
Yeah.
And can you debug its like scenarios across whole application?
I mean, you can. So for the for the native part, you can use the native debugging tool directly. Like if it's Android, you can use the debugging tool from Android Studio. If it's iOS, you can use the Xcode debugging tool. For Flutter side, it doesn't attach itself directly, so you need to call Flutter attach, this command, after you run your application, and then you can also debug native part and Flutter part directly.
So you can debug like
exactly you can, but you need to do the extra mile. You need to write the Flutter attach directly.
I see. And another question is about, you said a couple of words about performance, but will this work like really performant on heavy tasks? What if I have a really heavy Flutter application or vice versa?
I mean, so let's go different. Like at the end of the day, this will have, like you will be running too heavyweight. Like Flutter engine is not super light, right? Like when you add the Flutter engine, even your application size will change drastically. So the Flutter part will be working properly, the Android part will be working properly, but in the connection part that they might have, then there will be some problems most likely. So it depends on how you communicate with the native, with the ongoing project. I mean, with the proper implementation, like Alibaba doing, like Alibaba right now is like rewriting their applications basically like module by module with Flutter. And with their approach, it doesn't seem like it is breaking, but I've seen it is breaking in other projects. So it depends, like it really requires extra attention, that is for sure. Because like Flutter engine is not lightweight, this is super heavy. And how it works and how it behaves under the life cycle of, for example, Android is also like quite challenging, right?
Yeah.
So,
but
yeah.
Am I correct saying that use case for this to installing Flutter inside Android application, for instance, is mostly when you would like to migrate your application, but you don't want to like do it in the one batch. You want to migrate it screen by screen.
Exactly. That is the like 90% of the use cases that you will be using it. I mean, like I have seen some also there were some people that wanted to investigate on Flutter, and like this is also somehow like the migrating part, but they were like, okay, let's add this, see the behavior from people, then we will talk about rewrite sort of thing. So it can be also used for experiments as well.
Yeah, I see. Another question is, what do you think? So how to smoothly work with the CI/CD? Again, we already talked about CI/CD because you have to build Android part or iOS part and build Flutter part. So a lot of things. So is it hard, or you should build one or another?
I mean, like it is obviously requiring extra attention, right? Like for the CI/CD part, it is not so different than like if you have worked with Android's multimodal project before, it is not so different than that. So once you have an experience like this, I think it should not be a problem, because obviously there are like bases like you need to have Flutter installed in your CI system. This is for sure. But also you need to have the proper toolkit like for the ADB and etc. So once you know how to deal with multi-modules in Android, for example, and once you know how to get a release out of Flutter, I think it's not a problem. Like it is completely regarding to the knowledge base of the team. Like this is obviously an intermediate topic, so like a beginner will have a lot of trouble, this is for sure. But with an experienced developer, like it doesn't have to be much, like 3, 4, 5 years. I think it will be easier.
I see. And Manuel Labarca is asking, so is Flutter module in native apps common or not, or you will be like first in the world? So what do you think? Will you, because be the first in something is definitely painful. You collect all everything. So should you start or wait until maybe big players will just show the way?
I mean, like we already have the big players, right? I mean, we have a lot of apps that has been developed by like really big companies. And the Alibaba example is one of the biggest one. They're using add to app for their project. So I think it should not be a problem. So it depends on, first of all, what you want with your career. Are you happy with what you're doing? And last but not least, they like always need to keep in mind that if they really want to do it, the rest is basically a level of knowledge can be achieved by simply learning something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the last question is it's actually not about the Flutter and native applications, but where it is. Asher is asking, do we need more higher level knowledge of Dart to be a good Flutter developer?
I mean, like, yes. I mean, like, unfortunately, you don't need to, like, good thing about Flutter is for the most of the stuff, you don't need to know about Kotlin or Swift or Objective-C or Java. But bad thing, you need to know a language, and that is Dart. If you know Kotlin or Swift, it's an easy language for you to learn. Same for JavaScript. So it's a modern language, looks like a lot of languages. So, but you need to have at least a common understanding about Dart and most like object-oriented programming, right? Mm-hmm. This will be really useful.
Yeah, I see. Okay, and looks like that's it. So thank you very much, and it was a great talk. And if you, I mean, audience again, if you want to ask any questions, you can ask them in the comments or in the Twitter or any other social networks. So thank you very much, and have a great evening. Bye. And looks like we have our next speaker. Where is Actually, you know, this sound reminds me of some Wild Hunt or Witcher game or something like this. Now, our next speaker is Damodar. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah, it's correct. It's good.
Yeah. So you are a full stack developer. You are involved in Flutter really, really heavily, I would say. Right.
Yeah, so I've been working with Flutter for 2 years now. So
wow.
Yeah,
since the beginning. Many people many employers, they're asking, okay, I want to hire a senior Flutter developer with 5 years of experience. And be like, okay, yeah, 5. So, and today you would like to talk about Dart extension methods.
Yeah. So
cool.
I'd like to talk about Dart extension methods. So namaste everyone, and welcome to Flutter Vikings. First, I'd like to thank the Flutter Viking team for allowing me to be here, to be a part of this series. I'm really thankful to them, and I'm really excited. Hope you are excited too. And now, talking about me, I'm a web and mobile developer with 10 plus years of experience working in tech. I'm an open source lover and open source contributor and also a YouTube tutor. You can find me on YouTube active. Now let's move on to our topic for today. So extension methods. So what are extension methods? Extension methods are a way to add functionalities to existing classes. Okay, we can add functionalities to existing classes and libraries without ever extending or modifying the existing class. Okay, and it doesn't work with dynamic type. It is a static, so it is statically typed, and it only works with defined type. And we can define extension members for instant methods, operators, setters, and getters, but not fields. So we cannot define fields because they are static. And why do we use extension methods? Because it helps get rid of utility classes with static methods that we use many times. For example, if we want to check whether our email is valid or not, we may create a static class called string utils and create a function inside that called check if email is valid, which takes in a string and returns Boolean true or false whether email is valid or not. However, we can change that. I'll show you in a bit how extension method enable us to remove that, instead use a cleaner proper syntax. And moreover, IDEs show the extension methods as a regular member function of a class, and it is really easy to work with them. Okay, enough talk. Let's see the code. So how we can define extension and how we can use extension methods in Dart and Flutter. First, how we can define an extension. In order to define an extension, syntax is very simple. It looks like a class definition or a enum or type definition in Dart. So first we use an extension keyword, and then we give a name to our extension, and on keyword with type. So on which type or class the extension is defined. And inside two curly braces, we define the member functions or member getters, setters, etc. Okay. And for example, you can see on the right side, we have an example. So extension, string extensions on string. So before I talked about a string util class where we could check whether or not an email is valid. Now here on a string type, we are defining a string extensions, and there we are defining a getter that returns bool is valid email. So it checks this string here. This means the instance of this string type, and it checks this string against this regular expression and returns true whether or not it is a valid email. So this is how easy it is to define an extension method in Dart. We simply write extension keyword, then we name the extension. Here the name of the extension is string extensions, and we'll see it in a bit why we need a name for our extension, and then on keyword, and then we decide the type, on which class or type we are defining this extension. Okay. And inside the body, we declare getters, setters, member methods, whatever we like in our extension. Then, now how we can call this extension method is, there are two ways of calling it. One, implicit calling. You can see the first one. So after defining that extension, we can simply call dot is valid email, because this is a getter. We have defined it as getter. You can see it here. So we can simply call is email valid in our string. Okay. Some string dot is email valid. This is implicit calling, and this is the easiest syntax. And next one is explicit calling, like a wrapper class. Okay. Here what we do is we wrap the string with the string extensions. This is the name of the extension, like a class, wrapper class, and call dot is valid email. Again, we call the same getter. So why we need two syntax, implicit and explicit, we see that in a bit. So what happens is sometimes more than one extension define the same method on the same class. On that time, we need to resolve the conflict. And there are two ways of resolving conflict. One way is, while importing the extensions, we can show or hide the conflicting methods so that there is no conflict. Next, if there are two extensions that define the same method, we can use explicit calling by using the name. So when we use the name, then this method is called from this particular extension, not the other conflicting extension. So this is why we need two ways of calling, explicit and implicit calling of the extension methods. However, the easiest one is, you can see, the implicit calling, because we can simply directly call in the instance member. We can directly call the instance method, extension method, or extension getter that we define. Now, we can also define the extension methods for generic types. Okay, for generic types like list and other types like num. Num has different extended subclasses. For those kind of things, we can use generic extension method, and the syntax is as shown in here. So I'm not describing this in detail. You can find the details on the Dart documentation for extension method. You can find it in the Dartlang website. Next, now we see that how we can define and call extension method. Now let's see how it makes our life easier while using it with Flutter. So in Flutter, lots of time we use theme of context to get theme values for text theme or other theme like primary caller, secondary caller, or callers and other themes. So we use theme of context.text theme to get a text theme. Okay, and this looks a bit complex and this looks longer syntax. What if we could turn this into context.text theme instead of theme of context.text theme? What if we could simply call it from context? Okay, and to do that, what we can simply do is we can define an extension method. You can see here extension, and we can name it anything, theme extension on build context. Okay, we are defining in an extension method on build context, and it's a getter. So we are defining a text theme getter, and that returns a theme of context.text theme. Now, in every time, instead of writing theme of context.text theme, what we can do is we can simply call context.text theme. And this example is taken from build context package. If you have not used this, you can use this package that gives quite nice syntax for calling lots of things like context.text theme and lots of other things like media queries and scaffold directly from context instead of doing theme of context. Okay, and similarly we can do this for many other things. We can define our own extensions similarly. So again, for example, in order to get media query of context.size, instead of doing this, what we can do is we can define an extension method, media query extension on build context, that returns media query size getter, which returns media query of context.size. So every time in code we want size, we can simply use context.media query size. So this example is taken from build context package. So this is how easier it makes it to use in Flutter by using extension methods. Okay, now if there are any queries, I had a really short presentation. I'm really thankful that you are listening it carefully. So if there are any queries, please let me know. I think I have 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes. And people are a bit worrying about extensions, that the readability is not that great. And what do you think? Is it a bad practice or it is good?
I think it's it's preference. It's not a bad practice. It's really a choice or preference, because whenever we are using extension, I feel the syntax is a lot more cleaner. I see the code, it is more readable, but it might get confusing for those who are not used to it, because theme of context for example, theme of context.text theme and context.text theme seems like we are getting the text theme directly from context, but actually we are getting it from the theme class, but it seems like we are getting it from context. It might be confusing if we are not used to it, but I think it makes a lot cleaner and easier as well.
I see. Okay, thank you very much, Damodar. Have a great evening. It was a pleasure to have you here, and we will have next speaker. Drum roll. Bam. The wild hunt begins. Hello, Mais.
Hi.
Hi, and today you're gonna talk about, as we talked with previous speakers, so Pineapple, Pi, and all this joke, but you will talk about Firebase and Flutter and their best friends together.
Yes, exactly. My talk today is about Flutter Fire.
And yeah, I will not spend your time on the stage, so please welcome, and time is yours.
Thank you. So welcome everyone. I'm really pleased to be here today. And our talk, or my talk today, is about Flutter and Firebase. Not Firebase in general, but specifically about Firestore. So we will learn how to query, like how you will query like a hero using Flutter and Firestore. A little bit about me. My name is Maisel Hiraki. I'm a software engineer in the Flutter GDE. So let's get started. So Flutterfire, what is Flutterfire? Flutterfire is a collection of Flutter packages for Firebase services, and you can find all the information you need on firebase.flutter.dev. This talk, I will speak specifically about some basic to complex querying and where are the best practices of writing your queries inside of Flutter applications. Now, first, a little bit about the data model in Firestore. In Firestore, it's a NoSQL database, so we have instead of tables, we have collections, and instead of rows, we have documents. So that briefly explains it all. So suppose we have the collection of users. This is the dark yellow, and inside of it, we have two kinds of documents, and each document represents a user. Each user will have this random string of numbers and letters as an ID. And inside each document, there is a field called name, and this name has a value. Now, here's one point. You can notice that each document actually have two different types of the value name. One is a map, and the other is a string. This is one point in Firestore. Firestore has the full flexibility to store any kind of data in any fields, and well, you really have this full power of flexibility, but at the same time, this could be a little bit risky, and you need to be so defensive while programming to make sure that your application is performing well under all kinds of things you may get from your database. Now let's start with querying. So before we get or read or write or do anything with our data, we need to know where is the document that I need. So we need to learn how to reference a document. And there are two ways. The first one is we either know the ID at the time of typing the query, so it's known from a code or something like, I know, for example, the user ID, I can get the user document. So this is the first method, referencing one document by ID. The other one is filtering. And in case you don't know the ID, so I don't have the ID at the time of typing the query, but I have some set of conditions that I want to perform on my query and get the documents that approve this condition. The first method you can see here, well, throughout the code snippets in these slides, I will be using DB instead of writing Firebase Firestore.instance. So in order to use the Firestore client SDK or the plugin in Flutter, we first call Firebase Firestore.instance, and then we get access to all the method inside of it. So then I will create a reference, and this reference is going to be by ID. So I'll say db.collection. Of course, I know the collection is my users, and then .doc user.id. Note that I'm passing the ID to the doc. So this way, now I have a reference to the location of my user doc inside the DB. Another way to write the query is by saying just .doc immediately and give the path, the full path of the document instead of calling .collection. This is a shortcut, but not it. It has to always point to a document, so that like it does shouldn't end pointing to a sub-collection or something. Now you don't know the ID, but you have a set of conditions. In this case, these are the conditions or filter methods that you can use on your queries. So these are the conditions in the Firestore, Flutter Firestore package. Let's see an example. So to create a reference to the collection or the documents of my users based on their ID, where, for example, I'm taking the public ID from some input from my user, if it's a search field or something. So I'll say is equal to, I'll specify the field that I want to look to the value, then I'll give it the value that I want Firestore to compare to. So I'm comparing one value to another. We have another one. I'm not going to go into these in details, but wherein is an interesting one since it's related to the equal to. So wherein I'm comparing one field to a list of values. So this could be really handy. For example, we have here a collection of movies, and I want to get the movies from the user favorite movies. And the user favorite movies is a list of movie IDs. So I'm comparing the ID of the movies from the movies collection to the list of user favorite movies, and then I'm getting this list and show it for the user. Now, we have recently Firestore introduced the not equal to operator. Where is it in the Firestore Flutter package? It's not there yet, but I saw a PR and it's gonna land there soon, hopefully. Now to reading. When you want to read data from Firestore, you either will get it. So you either will get it as a future or as a stream. As a future, the data is not going to change. You will get it only one time, and that's it. But as a stream, you will get notified when anything in a database changes. Now, how do you decide? You decide that by asking yourself, do you need real-time updates or not? Like, does it make sense to let my users have real-time updates over the data, or is the data frequently changing or not? Now, if the answer is yes, you will read your data after you write your reference. Here, we wrote the reference to the user document, and then I'll say the reference dot snapshots. That way, I will be notified whenever my user changes his profile picture, her profile picture, or update their name. No, I don't need real-time updates. This way, I will use get instead of snapshots. Now, this is a tip. Where to write my queries. And this is a mistake, or I won't say a mistake, but it's something that we all started with. For me, when I started till a recent time, I was doing this a lot, which is writing my query directly inside the build method. So we have here the widget stream builder, and we are, well, sorry, it has to be a stream here. Anyway, so I'm writing my query directly inside the widget, which is inside the build method. But this is wrong, and you shouldn't really do it. Why? What's wrong with this? Number one is there are no types. So whatever data you are getting from the database, it has no types. And this could be really confusing, hard to read, not reusable, not maintainable, and yeah, it's really hard to maintain when when your app starts building and scale bigger. And it's not really readable if you have some nested fields. So please don't do that in a big project. And let's see how we can do it. Maybe it's not the right way, but it's simple and it works. So step one, we can start by creating a user. Now, a user model, I said previously that the problem with that example was it doesn't have types. So now I'm starting to create a type, which is the user. So I'm creating the type user, and the most important thing here we can see is that we have a factory method, which will take data. I will give it from Firestore, and will turn it into a user object. So that way now I have a user instead of a queried snapshot. Step number 2 is to create a service class. Now, we saw previously that the query was written inside the build method, but now we remove our query from the build method and we put it inside a separate service, which is now called the Firestore service. You can call it whatever you want. So I'm creating my service, I'm creating a private constructor, then an instance for initialization. Then I'm taking the Firebase Firestore instance. Then here I have my method, which basically will make the reference to my document and then will return whatever documents that I'm getting from Firestore and mapping these documents into a user object. So now we are using user.fromMap constructor, factor constructor. And that way we will get a stream of users instead of query snapshots. Step 3 now is to read the user, and this is fairly easy. In this code here, I'm using Stream Provider. This is one way of doing it. So you can use directly Stream Builder now, it doesn't matter, but I'm just showing you this example. So suppose I'm taking my user ID somewhere above this code, and then I'm passing it to the Stream Provider. And here I'm using my service, Firestore service.instance.stream user, and I'm giving it the ID. And that way I'm providing my user to the whole widget tree under the this provider. Because I'm using here provider because I'm likely to call user or use the user in different parts of my application. So that way I can directly call provider of user. Note here, it's a user, it's not a query snapshot anymore. And that easily, just with one line, it looks more clean, more reusable, and much better. So in cases of, we sometimes read a group of documents, like not only one document like I was doing, reading one user document. Sometimes I'm reading, like let's say, displaying the movies for the user, and the user is scrolling to see and look for some favorite movie. So suppose I have 100,000 movies in my database. Am I going to read all that data and bring it at like one time to the user? No, it's really bad and you shouldn't do it. So you are more likely to use limit and paginate. So how to limit and paginate our data when we read it? First, we create a reference, like the normal reference. Then I'm creating the condition to get these the movies that has these genres, and then I'm ordering them by year, and then I'm limiting my results to get me only the 21st documents. Great, but yeah, I have 1,000 movies, but the user is going to see only 20 movies. But I want, when the user scroll down a little bit, it loads the next 20 movies. So this is called paginating. And how to do that in Firestore, it's also fairly easy. I'm not showing the full example here, but I'm showing you the logic or the code with Firestore. So first, to know where did we stop, this is called cursors. So to know where did we stop last time, we need to have a reference to the last document we got from every query. So I will create a document reference called last doc, and then I'll write the same query I had before with a limit of 20. And then I will make a little check to see if the last doc does not equal null. That means I've got some data and I want to load the next 20 documents of data. So I will tell my query to start after the last doc document. So start after document, last doc. And this will be limited to 20 as well. Now I will have my result, I'll get the result, then I will update my last doc to have the result last document. And that's how you do paginating in Firestore. Fairly easy. So now moving to creating and updating, or in other words, writing to the database. We saw how we can read, now we see how we can write. So write includes update, delete, or create. So in order to create, we have here some set of data with a name and a genre of the movie data. Then I will create a reference. Remember, every time we need to do anything in a database, we need to have a reference. So I'm creating a reference. I'm saying that I want to add a new document to the movies collection. So I will call my collection, and then I'll use add to add the data. Another way of doing it is by calling set. Okay, so it makes some sense sometimes to store the movie ID or the ID of the document inside the document itself. So right here, after I made my reference and I added the document, and note here that add is gonna generate a random ID. So I will take that random ID from the reference after it has been created, and I will set it as a field, a new field. And note here, with set, we always need to have our merge options to true. Otherwise, it's gonna wipe all this data and we will have only the movie ID. Another way of updating is by using directly the update method. And this way, we don't have to say merge true, because it's not gonna wipe anything. It's gonna safely update. But what's the difference between set and update? Set will look to see if the document doesn't exist, it's gonna create it. But but update, it's gonna look if the document doesn't exist, it's gonna fail. It's not gonna update anything. So this is the main difference between set and update. We can also use set instead of add. So suppose here I want to create the movie document with the movie ID, with the movie name as an ID, instead of letting Firestore generate a random ID. I can do that. I can say the movie ID is set to the movie name, and then I can use set instead of add, because we said previously that set actually create a new document if it couldn't find it. So I can safely use it to create documents. So I'll create a reference with the movie ID, and set will look into Firestore and it will see that there is no movie with this movie ID. It will create it and it will set the data with whatever data I'm giving it. So this is how we use set instead of add if we want custom IDs. Now, the last thing is how to update a field into a map, into like if we have the value of some key inside my database as a map. So how I update only one field inside that map. We can do that using update or set. So using update, I can write the name of the field, then dot the name of the field inside the map, and I can do the update safely. But if I want to use set, I can't use this. I can't say name dot first. I need to write the whole the whole structure. Then I set the options to merge to true, and we need to have true here, or else it's gonna wipe all this name and just like put a new data in there. Last, delete. So we just need like when deleting a whole document, we just call the document reference and then call delete. But what if we want to delete one field? We just call that field with the update method and then say field value dot delete, and that's how we delete a single field. So for some further reading and your useful resources, just go to firebase.flutter.dev or firebase.google.com/docs/firestore. There are a lot of great docs in there. Thank you very much for having me. This is my Twitter account. Yeah, and I'm sorry for being so fast, but I wanted to be on time. I hope that I'm in time.
Yeah, you're totally in time. Thank you very much, Mais. We unfortunately have time for the questions.
No
because,
problem.
Yeah, we're in a rush. So if you have any questions, please reach Mais directly to the Twitter and ask your questions. Looks like we have a conversation there in comments. Thank you very much. And
thank you too.
Yeah, and we have some time. Actually, we don't have time, and Majid is pinging me on Twitter and all social media like, Zhenya, we don't have time. We have to rush to another speakers. But it's so cozy and chill atmosphere here. And this is Really nice to have you here. Have you, I mean the audience. But we have to proceed to our next activity, and this would be our activity where you can win the prize. And please welcome Kevin and Colin from the @Sign company. Which note it is? It is. Looks like it's E. Hi Kevin, hi Colin, and what do you have today?
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Kevin from the @Sign company. We're thrilled to be here today. I love the horn. That's really awesome. So we just wanted to kind of introduce an open source project that we've launched a couple weeks ago, and invite people to take a look, give us feedback, join in, contribute. The open source project is actually to create a new internet protocol. And it focuses on people's privacy. So it's a very person-focused company and a very person-focused protocol. Probably the first person-oriented protocol, not machine-oriented protocol. Anyway, so that's me. I've been in the computer business for a long time, and Colin and I started this project we first kind of started writing code about 6 years ago, and then decided to form a company about 18 months ago and really get serious about it. So we did that, and so let me introduce Colin Constable.
Hey everybody, super pleased to be here. Glad to be involved in this event and get our protocol out in the hands of Flutter developers. We've written the whole protocol in Dart, so it's pure Dart. All the libraries are up on PubDev. All the open source on GitHub. Go look it out. We have a challenge for you. We'll go into it in a little bit, but yeah. So my background, I'm a DevOps person primarily. I got introduced to Dart and Flutter about 2 years ago by some of the Flutter community in New York City. Shout out to Richard out there, and haven't looked back. And it's been a joy writing a network protocol in Dart, and then having Flutter developers build on top of that. Mainly because Dart's just been a rush, because we can run our protocol on big fat servers, and we can run it on light bulbs. We can run it on Raspberry Pis. All that joy is so much nicer than having to write things in much lower level programming languages that I'm used to. So, Kevin, I thought we'd go through sort of where we started in this journey and see. I mean, we're both internet optimists. We think the internet gets a bad rap these days, but maybe this is our original vision. This is our original pitch deck, I think, if I remember right, Kevin.
Yep.
You want to tell us about it?
Oh yeah. So we basically started off saying that we were not satisfied with the way the internet worked today, especially when control has been ceded to so many large platforms and corporations that basically can take your data, do what they want to with it, and then invade your space all the time. So spam emails, calls, and they're constantly asking me to give them information. So I'm creating profiles and setting up user databases all over the place, which according to them is their data now. We disagree with that, but so we're trying to say there must be a better way, and there's a lot of legislation and regulation with GDPR, and in California now we have the CCPA regulation, and regulation is really important, but that doesn't solve the problem. So we wanted to solve the problem at a very fundamental level, and the problem is that people don't control their data or their space. So it's not just data, but it's who can call me, who can text me, who can email me, who can all those kind of things. So we wanted to create a protocol that lets people control their environment and their data, and that's what we built.
Yeah. So when we're writing a protocol, one of the tests when you have to write a protocol is it backwardly compatible with previous protocols on the network. We'd like to think of ourselves as out-of-the-box thinkers. So rather than testing our protocol on the internet as a little bit of a sort of thought experiment, a bit of a joke, we thought we'd try it on a much older network. So could we run the app protocol on a older network? So the oldest network in the world is probably the postal mail. So could we run the app protocol on the postal mail? So that little bit of explanation of what the app protocol is. Essentially what it is, you get an @, which is a unique string, unique to you, but you hold all the data behind that @string, and you also permission people to be able to view what data you've got. So somebody has to prove who they are to you, and then you give them access. So this is our sort of backward compatibility test. So this is it. This is our proof of concept. With the app protocol, could Kevin send @Colin a piece of mail? Now, obviously, this would mean that in the US, where we are, although I've got an English accent, I'm in California. Could this work? Yeah, we think it could. If the US Postal Service could look up @signs, they could come to me and they could say, @Colin, what's your postal mail? And I could say, well, who's actually sending to me? And they say, well, it's @Kevin. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you can send it to this address. So maybe if it's a tax guy, then maybe I don't want to send it to me. Maybe I want to send it to my accountant or maybe somewhere else. Or if it's junk mail, then maybe I want to look at who's sending me the junk mail and send it. So this is an internet protocol for sure, but it has capabilities beyond the internet and is backwardly compatible to the oldest network probably in the world, which is the postal mail system. So anyway, bit of an original joke, but actually we've spoken to people and they like, I really want this. I want this now. So maybe it's real. We'll see. We'll see over time. Kevin, over to you.
Yeah, and it's also it's a real-time protocol. So if you're an example of package delivery or postal service, you can have a real-time destination for your package or letter, and you control it. So it will come to you rather than you having to go find it. So this is kind of where we started off as our mission statement. We want to give people the power to securely control the digital selves, and that changes lots of things actually. And one of the primary ones. So we don't use the term users in the ad company. We refer to people as people, and there's a reason for that, Colin. Why do we avoid users?
Because there's only two industries in the world that talk about their customers as users. That would be the computer industry and the drug industry. And we want to make the internet much more people-oriented. And we believe people are real people. They're not users at all. They're real people. We want to have a good relationship with them and give them good new experiences. So this also, I guess this is our rather amusing privacy policy. So Kevin, there's a little bit of history to this as well, right?
Yeah. So so this is actually literally the privacy policy that we use for the apps that we're creating. I mean, we're creating some open source apps. Just kind of, for example, they're all free and they're all, they have, they're all end-to-end encrypted, and they're person-to-person or peer-to-peer. So the information, there's no chance of surveillance, no chance of snooping, and people can't take your data and do what they want to with it. You can, but they can't. So this is our privacy policy, probably the simplest privacy policy on the planet. And it basically says your data is your data, and information that's shared with you belongs to the person sharing it with you, and public data is public data. That's about it. So this is we think one of the friendliest privacy policies around, but literally this is what we use for protocol apps.
And although we're a protocol, we've made all this available to Flutter developers. So you don't actually have to know as a Flutter developer how the protocol works. Sort of you use very high-level constructs like get and put and all the stuff that we're used to, and the libraries could take care of all the wire protocol. So if you're using those libraries, then you get all this stuff for free, which is sort of awesome. All of our apps are obviously written in Flutter as well. So if you go to the stores, you can see App Persona and Atmosphere. They're sort of our first apps. We will open source them soon, so you can get to see how they all work. But we have a competition for you guys, and this is our competition. You may have had it mentioned before. We have all the details at vikings.adsign.com. And we also have a little gift for you. If you want to pick up a discount on your ad sign, go to that URL and then just put on the end of the URL gift, and you will see a little gift for you. We'll let you go find it and see what you get. So this is our competition. We'd like you to create a simple mobile app using the app protocol and our libraries. Submit the application to us by Friday. And we are going to select some winners and give out €500. Yay. Kevin, any final words? I know what we got 10 seconds.
Yeah, just this is a great community for us to talk to. So this is brand new. It's not done. It's not finished. So if you find problems, give us feedback, help us fix it. We welcome everybody to join on helping create this. So don't expect it to be perfect or done, because it's not. But we welcome anybody trying it out, testing it out. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, really looking forward to that feedback. It can only make it better. So yeah, thank you, and thanks to all the Vikings out there.
Thank you very much, Colin. Thank you very much, Kevin. And yeah, it looks like in comments people asking a lot of questions. So you can reach us directly in the social media, or this you should participate in this challenge. And we are ready for our next speaker, sorry, only one speaker. And this is, let the horn.
We need the horn.
And I found the note. The note is here. Note.
Yeah,
Hi, Dominic.
that's the one. Really nice.
Yeah,
Hi,
that's
hi.
the one.
Good to see you all.
Yeah, and I've seen Dominic at the Flutter Europe conference, one of the biggest Flutter conferences. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a year almost.
Yeah, it was a great conference offline. A lot of people. I don't know. I hope that we will.
We really missed this time. Yeah. Not sure whether next year there will be some offline conferences. Hopefully, yes. But right now, nothing's certain.
I need to play sad song.
Yeah, let's maybe cry a little. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Okay, I think
beautiful.
Yeah, we're ready for your talk. And by the way, you are GD as well as many people.
Yes.
Today's
this year, I was so honored to become GDE in Flutter, and I'm like trying to do my best to share some things about Flutter here and there.
You have your own blog, and this is it is really popular because a lot of articles there. So
yeah, so I have like maybe 2 or 3 like articles that have like constantly some views, and I just can't I just need to update some of them because they were written like a year ago. And since then, so many things changed in Flutter that these articles are maybe not the freshest thing. So hopefully I will have some time, maybe during the holiday break, to update some of them or write some new ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and about freshest things, you will talk today about Navigator 2.0. So pretty new one.
Yeah, that's brand new on the blog. And so maybe in the meantime, when we are introducing, could you please, everybody, share in the comments if you've used Navigator 2.0 before? And this way I will at least know what is the level of your knowledge about Navigator, and we could maybe align the difficulty level of the talk to that. Yeah.
And actually, I will leave the stage, and yeah, this is your time.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Evgeny. So Hi again. Good to see you, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. This is like a real privilege to talk at Flutter Vikings. Thanks, Majid. Thanks, everybody, for inviting me and hosting this event. I'm really excited to watch all the talks. And today we're going to talk about Navigator 2.0. I'm seeing some comments and people are writing no and yes. There's like more no's about Navigator 2.0. So I'm hopefully this talk will be understandable. However, this will require some previous knowledge on how the navigation works in Flutter, the basic one that we all knew and use, especially if you're doing some entry-level tutorials or some simple apps. This navigation, this pattern should be known before. If you don't know, hopefully you could just be able to get along. There will be some introduction at the beginning. So I'm Dominic. You can find me online, especially on Twitter. There's also my website, roszkowski.dev. I'm inviting you to follow me. From time to time, I'm sharing some news about Flutter and some challenges if I have time. So let's start. I think I have like almost 30 minutes, so hopefully we'll have time to go through all of the topics for today. So let's start with comparing the new navigator into the previous, like the original navigator. This will be just like a very basic comparison. So why should you even care about Navigator 2.0? So first of all, we've been using this so-called imperative calls for a long time now, like navigator.push, pop, push and remove until, and many more. And there were also some other properties on the navigator called like on generate route. And they were, for instance, available on Material App or something like that. And we had this approach to navigation in our apps that we were like calling this method somewhere in the apps on the button or on some callback. And we were navigating, and we had to keep this kind of a mind map in our heads to know what page is being pushed on top, or actually what route is being pushed on top of the current one, or if we wanted to replace some page, we had to really think hard to figure out what should be the proper order. And the more actions or transitions we had, the more complex this model had to be. Of course, there were many ways to improve. You could have a separate file, you could have some kind of manager for that. There were some great libraries for that. However, with Navigator 2.0, we finally received an API and a really interesting tool that should help us manage the navigation stack in our app, similar to what other mobile solutions have. And this is called Navigator 2.0. And it consists of two things. First, it has a Pages API or Page API in official documentation, and something called Router Widget. It's not declarative management of pages like immediately, because this is much more complex topic, and there are people that just say that this is just a kind of wrapper around old Navigator. And this is something that, for instance, in my opinion, either like library developers could use heavily, or if you're like more into some low-level Flutter code and you enjoy having control over your application, then Navigator 2.0 is something for you. So I'm this former type of person, so I really enjoy seeing how some things in Flutter can work, and that's what I want to show you today. We're not going to use any libraries, just plain vanilla Flutter. So we've always wanted some kind of a declarative way to manage pages in Flutter, manage navigation stack. And it's been a long time. Over a year ago, there was this thread on GitHub. And then there was this design doc. And this design doc talked about this new navigator. Some discussion was about it. But this year, new navigator landed. And right now, it's even available in stable, both Page API and Router Widget. They are both available on stable. So you can use them, and you should be good to have fun with that after this talk. And this document is still available, so if you wanna, you can check out this on the flutter.dev. There's a link here, so if you wanna see, here's the link. You can check out this document by yourself. I really recommend it to do, because this helps to understand what was the motivation. And maybe let's back up for a moment and remind ourselves, how do we manage pages in a typical way? So we have our navigator, and we can respond to some user actions, some state changes. Some people do it, for instance, in block listener or in some at post frame callbacks or whatever. And we had this really easy way to push new route, navigator that push material page route. If we wanted to await the result, we could just await the navigator that push call. Or if you wanted to make the page a root page of your navigation stack, you could just call navigator that push and remove until. Okay, let me just check out the messages. Okay, nothing serious. So this was like the old way. This is the current way that you can navigate in your app. Everybody knows it, and it works just fine. However, there are some issues with that. So let's maybe go through some of them. So first of all, these navigation changes are kind of unpredictable. So whenever you have some button and it can change the navigation, you either have to test this like by a widget tests, or you just assume that this will navigate somewhere and you have to remember about it. Then if you want to do something unusual, like some simple backstack manipulations, maybe replacing some pages, maybe pushing many pages at once, or if you wanted to maybe like reset to the home page in a like clear way that you are actually resetting the page to be a root widget, then it was kind of hacky. And it was also difficult to refactor. And the funny part is that right now, when people are trying to actually refactor their apps to Navigator 2.0, they are struggling with that because the old Navigator was like scattered all across the app, and there was no like single point of responsibility. Of course, if you've used some kind of libraries like Fluoro or maybe Getix or something like that, it worked a bit differently. And probably this transition from these libraries to Navigator 2.0 even harder. However, I know that, for instance, Fluoro is planning to support Navigator 2.0, so potentially it should be just a seamless transition under the hood, and you shouldn't even notice as a user of the library. And of course, if you are like used to using the old Navigator, then it's not bad to use it. Like it will still be in Flutter for at least a couple of releases, and there is no deprecation on that, and you can still do it just fine. However, if you are starting a new project, I highly recommend you to see if you can use Navigator 2.0 in your app. Maybe let's go through the Navigator and the declarativeness of it in a few slides. So first of all, this promises to have a full control over the navigation stack. It promises a declarative API and promises backwards compatibility with the imperative API. All these 3 points are more or less satisfied. However, there are some like, let's say, some kind of issues with them. So especially with its declarativeness. However, we'll go through the code in a minute and we'll see how it actually works. So it all sounds like complicated, and some of you might ask, why do we even need something that already change something that already works? So some use cases that I've used Navigator 2.0, rebuilding navigation stack, for instance, from the push notification or in response to some event in the application, like signing out the user. Deep linking from push notifications. So maybe if you're using Unilinks package or dynamic links from Firebase, it's very useful to use Navigator 2.0, for instance, to navigate to the some kind of item in your bucket or something like this. Restoring app navigation state on app resume. So this is also something interesting, and I recommend you to check out tomorrow's talk by Simon Lightfoot about state restoration, because potentially, like, I'm not sure because I'm not an expert in state restoration. However, there may be some kind of dependency on both, like on the Navigator and state restoration framework. However, if you like want to skip state restoration from the framework and use your own state restoration, maybe just saving the navigation stack to your shared preferences or to your Hive database or whatever, and then when you open the app, you want to return the user to the given point. Let's say maybe if you have like a Twitter-like behavior where you want to keep the user on a given tweet, and when they open the app tomorrow, they will still be on the same tweet. this kind of state restoration. And also, the new navigator is a tool for library creators if they want to have some kind of full control over the navigation stack. And there's a Fluoro, and there is also this new library called Flow Builder. So, this I will talk about them at the end. So let's have a quick look at how Navigator works, the new Navigator. So this is an example. This is a strange example. Maybe you wouldn't have this kind of case in your application, but I had in my applications. My client asked me to have this kind of flow. And the point is here to, like, firstly, we have this flow, and we are on the details page, and we want to add a page beneath our current page. So we have a details page, and we want to add this other page here. So how do we do it? And in Navigator 2.0, it's kind of easy. So we're going to go through the code for that in a second, but the most important part is that Navigator 2.0 will accept a list of pages. And what we are going to do is we are just going to add at the index one below, sorry, one back. At the index one below the current index, the topmost, we are just going to add a new page. And this page will just store our widget, and we'll have a key. And after that, we will just notify listeners or set state. So the only, like, the main difference right now is that we are just modifying some kind of a list of pages that is going to be like a trigger to make this navigation work. And if you want to see this in real life, here's the animation. So we are, maybe let's wait for it to return. So we are just opening a details page with Navigator 2.0. And now we're just adding other page with Navigator 2.0. And we see that this is actually below the current page. And what we've done is we just added a page into the list, one index below the last element in the list. And that's the only thing that you actually need to do. There are some hacky workarounds how to do it with the old Navigator, but none of them is like good quality enough to be shown here. Yeah, and I just wanted to show you some kind of an example from my real application that I had to, and it was very easy to solve with Navigator 2.0. So now I hope I have your attention and you actually want to see how the Navigator works. So let's break down all the Navigator components that we need to understand before going to code. So let's start with the Navigator. So here's the typical use case. How would you use the Navigator with the Page API? We are not talking about router yet. We're just talking about the Navigator. So we have our material app. We have, unfortunately, we have to explicitly add Navigator as home to our material app. Of course, you could do it also somewhere deeper in your widget tree, but we have to do it as a home. We need to provide a list of pages. I'm using list unmodifiable of pages so that I know that I cannot modify this page if it is provided somewhere else. However, you could also use like pages to list of pages. There are many ways. The main point is that you need to provide a new instance of list to the Navigator, because it will compare the previous instance of a list to the new one. And if you just modify the list and provide it, then the Navigator, when comparing the previous to the new one, will have the same lists, and it will not notice the differences between them. So it needs to be a different instance of a list. And you also need to, so let me just show the explanation. So Navigator compares list of so-called pages and creates routes from them. And these pages that we provide here are to routes, very something similar to what stateless widgets are to elements. So if you know what is an element, then a stateless widget is just like a description of an element, and the same page is a description of route. And we're going to go deeply into that in a second. And pages, this variable pages can be kept wherever you want, like in your state, in some kind of external change notifier, or in your block or some Redux store. it doesn't matter at this point. The only point is that you need to provide it to the navigator. Then we have this onPop page callback that we need to provide. So this is necessary to keep the pages list in sync. And for instance, if you have like some kind of a page on your stack, on top of your stack, and you press back button or up bar back button, and this will call the navigator.pop. This will notify your navigator that you wanna pop this page from the stack, and you have to handle this case here in this list. So what I'm doing, I'm removing this from this list of pages. That's all I do. And one handy thing is that you get this route here. So the problem is that you don't get page, but you get route. However, each route is storing its settings, and page is actually a route setting. So page is extending route settings. So you can just remove the page from your list based off of routes settings. Hopefully it will be easier to understand when we go to code. And then you just call on the route did pop. And finally, if you want, but it's not necessary, it's not obligatory, you can provide your own so-called transition delegate. And this transition delegate is deciding how routes should enter the screen and how if they should animate or not. So also this is a tricky one, but we're going to look quickly on that in a few minutes. So I mentioned this page object, and this is something new in Navigator 2.0. And this may be sometimes a bit misleading because we are all used to use some page for our like widgets. So maybe you could call your home screen a home page, or you could call your settings screen a screen page. However, page is a new object in Flutter, and this is extending route settings. So it consists, for instance, of a name or a key. And we can say that page is some kind of an immutable description of a route. So when Navigator receives page or pages, it will inflate the route from this description of page. So instead of you saying that you want to push new material page route, and then you provide a builder for the widget, you provide a page, and it's responsibility of a navigator to actually create route from that. And you can control this behavior the same way as you would do in your material page route or some custom transition route. And you can just create your own subclass of page. And we're going to look into that in a few minutes in code. And one default page is material page. So this is the same as material page route. So if you want to just use material transitions, you can just use material page. It accepts child, key, and also name. We're going to look into that. So the transition delegate, the next part, is a class that is responsible for handling how the routes should animate or if they should animate. However, they are not defining the animation itself. It's just telling whether this animation for this page should occur or not, or in what order. So let's have a look at this example. So let's imagine a case if you would have to pop one page and push another in one, let's say, move. So the details page would become other page. And how it should animate. So we have two ways to do it, yeah? So first, we could just push the other page on top and silently remove the details page, or we could pop the details page and reveal the other page. And without clear like default, we don't know what will happen. This is like indeterminate. So there is like a default from Flutter, of course. And what happens is this one. So Flutter is actually pushing new page on top and removing the details page silently after the other page is already present on the top of the stack. And here, let's take a look at the example. So I'm adding my other page. So I'm adding my details page, and now I'm replacing this page with other page, and now I'm going back, and we can see that this other page was pushed on top of the navigation stack. And this is the default behavior of transition delegate. This is a bit complex. We don't have time today to go through that. However, if you want to have like custom transitions or decide that this transition should behave differently, you should look into this class and see for yourself. And now we have the final boss. We have still like 10 minutes, so hopefully we'll go into the code. So router is like this new final boss, the master class that will respond to navigation changes. I hope you enjoyed the router here. So there's like I'm going to read some documentation description, and hopefully this will be clear, but I hope that the code sample will be even clearer. So the router responsibility is to dispatch opening and closing of pages in the application. So it's just like a manager that will just open and close if asked to do so. Then it will wrap the navigator so that you, like in your widget tree, you don't, like, actually you have, but you don't see the navigator explicitly. You just create it in your router delegate. So your widget tree, if you have like your main, you don't see the navigator there. It's hidden in the router delegate. And the router is something that will be responsible for handling the navigation changes based off of a state. So there is like some kind of a state, and then it will respond to that. And also it will listen to the native events from the buttons, from the system, from the intents or whatever. This is more or less configured now for web. So this works, like the biggest advantages of that are on web. And there's like this diagram from Flutter team. So we have our material app, we have some kind of state, we have our router widget, and the router widget keeps the navigator widget. And if you push on your button in your page and the on-tap callback is executed, and you change your state, because you're not changing the navigator now, you're just changing your app state. It can be block, it can be Redux, whatever. But the main important part is that you change your state. This change of state is notifying the router, and now the router's responsibility is to change your navigation stack. So this is like the circle of life, that you're not touching the navigation directly, you're just modifying your state. And it's like declarativeness. So if you have a state A, and you have state B, and both of them have different navigation stack, it's responsibility of router to change the navigation stack between them. You're not going to do it on your own. This is some kind of a main reason for having this router widget, and hopefully you can achieve that in your apps. So this is like the biggest diagram that I saw about Flutter. So bear with me here. But we're just going to break it down quickly. We don't have much time, unfortunately. However, what is important is that to your app, you need to provide route information provider and route information parser. So provider is going to get the route information from the system, and it will provide it to the parser. Parser will parse it and provide it like some kind of typed information to your router delegate. And we're going to look into router delegate in a second. And there's also the router widget that will be revealed on changes to this router route information, and it will configure the navigator on its own. We have 7 minutes. So here's how you define your app to use router, because before we saw in the code that we had our navigator inside our material apps home. However, right now we have a defined special constructor called material app router, and this material app router will have to accept these three components: route information provider, route information parser, and router delegate, and also potentially back button dispatcher. These two are obligatory. These two are required. You don't have to provide provider. You don't have to provide back button dispatcher. However, you have to provide both of them. We are going to look into details how they work right now. So let me just switch my screen to something different. So my screen number 1, share. So let's have a look at router implementation. So here's my main router. I can close this right now. So we have our application. Could you please share my screen? Thanks. So here's my application, and I'm using this material app router constructor. Here I'm providing my app router delegate, and here I'm providing my app route information parser. Let's have a look at the delegate. So delegate is a class that is extending the router delegate, and it is using change notifier, and also it has this handy mixin for popping the page. However, the most important part, let's say, is this, where we have our build method and our onPop page method. So here you can see a very similar thing to what I've shown before. So we have our build method, and in this build method, I'm providing something called page manager. This is my custom class, created just so that I'm going to store my navigation state there. So I mentioned that we can store our navigation state anywhere, and I'm using my route page manager. This is just a change notifier, and this change notifier is going to handle keeping the state of my application. Let's go back here. Here I'm using provider and consumer so that the navigator will be revealed whenever the state changes. I'm having my navigator key. My navigator key is also kept by this page manager. And I'm also providing this onPop page callback, the same as we had previously in the navigator example. Here I'm just checking if there is some kind of result from the page. If yes, if I can, I'm just if I cannot pop, I just return false. If I want to pop this page, I'm calling on my page manager and new method did pop, so that I can be notified that this page was removed. And I'm also providing a list of pages here. So also page manager here is keeping the pages list for itself. So let's have a look at the page manager. And here I have the first important part is that I have just a final list of pages where I store my navigation stack. So you may see some other examples, like you could maybe have some condition, and then you would have some kind of list of pages. I'm not doing this. I'm just initializing my app with one page, which is my main screen. So you remember material page, main screen, key, and name is just a root name. Here are some handy getters for pages so that I won't modify the list unintentionally. And I will always modify the list. For instance, if I want to add new details below, I have a method for that. So I will just call route page manager of context, and I will call then add details below. It will just insert the page below this one and will notify the listeners. Let's have a look at the demo. So there is a demo that works on Flutter Web, and you can just open details, and I can add new details below. And if I go back, this page with details too is below. And if I go back to the home page, you can see that I'm back. One important thing to notice here is that whenever I change something, or also the URL changes. So if I open details again and again and again and again, it will change. And if I modify this manually, if I will just say details1, it will also respond to changes. And this is because whenever I do something here, the router gets notified that there's a change in the path. This path is being parsed, and this information about the path is being passed to my route information router delegate, and router delegate is calling a method set new route path. And if we take a look at the set new route path, I'm just handling if my the configuration is actually parsed information about route. So for instance, it could be this details, yeah. And if I see that this is unknown, I'm just pushing 404. If I see that this is a details page, so actually this case that we have here, yeah, details 3, or let's say even details 0, then this is being parsed, and I know that this is details page, and I'm just adding a new page on top of my stack with the provided details. And also, if I wanted to go to the home, so let's say, let's reset to home. I'm pressing here, and I'm changing the URL to the home, and also this is being called the set mirrored path home. Unfortunately, I don't have more time to show you all the details. However, if you want, you can go to the GitHub sample. And this whole source code, both for router implementation as well for the Just Navigator. You can also take a look at the Just Navigator implementation. So there is also implementation where you have just here Navigator, and I recommend you to check it out to see how this is done in plain Navigator Pages API and also with a router. So frankly, this is like less than 200 lines of code. So you can just by reading understand all the things. I try to comment everything. These samples were done based off some ideas from, for instance, Simon Lightfoot and Andrew Katz. So thanks to them, this sample is available for you. And also there is this sample on the CodeMagic website, so you can check it out. If you could just share this link with the audience, I would appreciate that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Just by Twitter or on my website. There is a contact form. You can also email me. You can find me on Flutter community Slack. I hope you learned something today. There's like a lot to talk about router and new Navigator. And thanks a lot for your attention. I hope we will meet someday again, maybe in real life also. And thanks a lot to the organizers for hosting me.
Thank you very much, Dominic. It was a pleasure to have you here, and it was a really nice talk. And if you have any questions, we will share the links. Dominic shared the links, and subscribe to his Twitter. And I have one thing to ask you, guys. I mean, audience. So what are two main things every Flutter developer should have? Like, yeah, I know we have a, yeah, I know that we have a delay and you don't have a time to answer, but that actually your phone and your Twitter in this phone, because how can you be a Flutter developer without the phone, without the Twitter?
So I can recommend one thing that every, like maybe even mobile developer should have. So I have this kind of a stand for my phone, and I have a bunch of them. So for instance, if I have my phone, I cannot show you right now, but let's say if I have my phone, I can just put it here. The cable goes below, or if you use like wireless debugging, you can also use that. But this is very handy, and you can keep your phones, like all of them, maybe some tablet. And this works really well. It costs like maybe $2. So I really recommend having something like this. And also the second thing, maybe maybe not a bunch of cables, but yeah, I really recommend to have a Twitter account and to follow some of the Flutter folks, Flutter team, and some announcements, because there's a lot going on in the ecosystem. And I think having a Twitter account is the best way right now to be up to date with everything.
Yeah. Thanks, Dominic. Thanks again for your talk. And yeah, about the Twitter and about the phone. Actually, it was a thing I wanted to say that you have to go to the fluttervikings.com/activities and participate in our social media activities, because you have a chance to win a prize. Yeah, and about the prizes, many of you are saying that, hey, I want a t-shirt, I want a Flutter t-shirt, how can I get one? And Scott is here to answer all of these questions. Hi, Scott.
Hello. Hey, thanks. I'm Scott, also known on Twitter as Scott Stoll 2017. And despite all of this, I really want to be clear. I do not work for Google. I am not a Googler. There are just some nice people there who send me stuff. Really nice stuff. This is my precious. It's my precious. You can't have it, nasty hobbitsies. However, there is something you can have. Right here, we have t-shirts. Now, I know that's a bit hard to see. Don't worry about it. What's going on here is that we have special edition Flutter Vikings t-shirts. And the first 20 patrons at $5 get one. Anyone else who happened to not quite get it yet, you can join at $30 per month. You don't necessarily have to stay on. That will cover the cost of the t-shirt for us. That's cool. So even if you just do it to buy the t-shirt, that's fine. So, and as Flutter Community just posted in the chat, we have the link right here. www.patreon.com/Flutter Community. Again, that is patreon.com/Flutter Community. Maybe I should make it flash. Maybe not.
And red.
All righty. But that is the big announcement. I'll give you another moment there to jot that down or put it in another tab. The first 20 can get it at $5. After that, the $5 tier is going to lock out. So, yeah. And also we do have women's t-shirts. So put it in there if you want a woman's t-shirt instead of a man's. Yes, they definitely fit better. And that is the big announcement. So I want to thank you very much for having us. Thank you for this great event. And I look forward to more over the next couple of days.
Thank you very much, Scott. And it was Scott about the t-shirts. So if you ever wanted to look fancy on any party in the world, even online, just go there and grab your t-shirt. And we'll have time for our next speakers. And yeah, play the horn. And the wild horn sound. So please welcome our two next speakers, actually. This is a really rare talk because two speakers there. And please welcome Rayana. Hi, Rayana.
Hi everyone.
And Juna.
Yuna. Hi everyone.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. This is the biggest fear of MC to pronounce someone incorrectly. And about our awesome speakers, Ryan actually is GDE in web, and on the website it says that you're crafter. So what is crafter?
Oh, yeah, I enjoy myself doing some clothing and fashion accessories. And actually that was my career before becoming a software engineer. So wow. I still enjoy doing that.
Yeah. And yeah, this is super awesome. And Yuna, sorry, again. Is a professional software engineer. It said that you wrote your first line of code when you was 10.
Yes, wow. Exactly. I started when I was a child, since I had the chance to be taught very early, and that became a passion for the life.
It looks like you still love it.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's awesome. And today you're gonna talk about the rare beast in the Flutter bestiary, I would say. It's about Flutter for Web, because there are so many rumors, so many hidden spots, and so the stage is yours, and I'm thrilled to see more about Flutter for Web.
Thank you. So, hello everyone again, and I'm Rihanna. I work as a software engineer. I am a Women Techmakers Ambassador and GDG Rome co-lead. Also a Google Developer Expert in web technologies, Dart in Flutter, and Flutterista. And hello everybody, I am Yuna Salviati. I am GDG Rome co-leader along with Rihanna. I'm a Women Techmakers Ambassador and Flutterista. And in my life, I am a full stack developer. We assume that you all know what is Flutter, and today we are here to talk about its support for web and to show you some use cases that leverage from this support. Well, first of all, how can we bring Flutter into our web browsers? Well, adding support for web means permitting code-compatible implementation of Flutter that is rendered using standard-based web technologies. Indeed, Flutter supports web, and going through the timeline, currently we have Flutter for web support in the beta version. It's under active development and experiment. Maybe it's not yet recommended deploying a Flutter coded web app to production. So stay tuned to the updates. It might be early to use it for a complex Flutter applications, but yet we can do some really cool things. So how can we set up Flutter for web, Yuna?
Okay, Flutter setups requires to be in beta channel. SDK installed must be major than 1.12, and you have to use Chrome, which has to be installed. It's always better to use the latest SDK version, and to use the latest version of the Flutter SDK from the beta channel and enable web support, we can run the following commands: Flutter channel beta, Flutter upgrade, Flutter config, ---- enable -web. We can check out connected devices with Flutter devices. A possible output could be this one. We can choose the device to run the application to by typing Flutter run, and we have a list of the devices available. Once we set up our environment to create a Flutter app with web support, we can use the command flutter create name of the app. To run the app, we can use the run command. That will open a Chrome browser, and we can see our app running in Chrome. We can also add web support to an existing Flutter app with the flutter create command, and check it on the browser with flutter run -d Chrome. And when we are ready to release, we can run the build app command. This populates a build web directory with build files, which needs to be served together. And now we are ready to deploy to any web server. So basically, that will be all we need to bring Flutter code into a modern web browser. But Rihanna, what's under the hood? How does Flutter work?
Well, as Flutter's architecture is designed with portability in mind, adding web support to Flutter means adding the drawing layer on top of standard browser APIs. Here we see the architectures of Flutter for mobile versus Flutter for web. Basically, the framework written in Dart, that is to say the green boxes, remain the same on both sides. And what changed is the bottom layer, the one responsible for the rendering on the app in the different platforms. And talking about rendering, in case of web, currently there are two available rendering approaches, the DOM canvas and the canvas kit. The DOM canvas uses the combination of HTML, CSS, and Canvas API for rendering into the browser. DOM canvas offers the greatest compatibility with a wide variety of browsers with a compact code size. However, repent performance could be poorer, but with greater stability, as it's the one that has been experimented for longer. And what about Canvas Kit, Yuna?
So Canvas Kit brings Kia to the web using WebAssembly and WebGL. It is suitable for complex and intensive graphics, even if it's still experimental and still has few rough edges. To enable Canvas Kit, we can run the command flutter --- -define equal flutter _web _use _skia equals true. But Rihanna, tell us more about the canvas.
Well, here's the tech stack we have in DOM canvas approach that permits bringing your Flutter code into the browser. At the top, we have our Flutter code. Then we got the Flutter framework, followed by the Flutter web engine, the layer that generates a Dart code suitable for rendering our Flutter code along the framework using web technologies, followed by the And what happens behind the scene is that our application, the Flutter framework, and the WebFlavor.ui library, all written in Dart, are compiled to JavaScript with the Dart2JS compiler. And that file can run on any modern browser. So typically in web development, we use HTML templates and CSS to build up our application, and we pass it onto the browser. And the browser uses HTML and CSS to lay out our elements and paint them on a web page. With Flutter, on the other hand, the building, the layouting, and the painting cycle are fully available to us. So Flutter for Web exposes the whole rendering pipeline to us in just a single JavaScript file, precisely the main.dart.js file, meaning that Flutter is painting everything into the browser. And not only that, but when building for release, the obfuscation, minification, and the tree shaking process are handled free for us. Obfuscation is the process of making the code unclear and unreadable to humans, and this adds a level of security to the source code. Minification is the process of removing unnecessary data present in code, so resulting in smaller file sizes and faster loading. And the tree shaking is the process of not including unused modules in the bundle during the build process. This way, with Flutter for Web, we can compile our Flutter code that we wrote using all its features, embed the compiled code into a web page, and deploy that to any web server. And we have it running in our browser without the need of any plugin. Now, the idea behind Flutter is to write code once and run it everywhere. When developing with Flutter, we use Flutter plugins. And sometimes we might need to write a platform-specific code. Let's see what we have for completing the Flutter web support in terms of Flutter plugins and interop with Dart.js. So, how about Flutter plugins that support web?
Flutter plugins give Flutter access to platform-specific interfaces. So you might be asking which plugins we can use for web. Now, several plugins with web support are available. To mention some: Shared Preferences, Firebase Core and Firebase Host, Google Sign-in, Your Launcher, and Video Player. More and more existing Flutter plugins are including web support. To find an updated list, you can check on pub.dev using the web filter. You can also add web support to existing Flutter plugins yourself by simply coding against the plugin's public interface and using its APIs. In addition, in case you want to build your own plugins, for example, interop with JavaScript library that you already have, or simply you want your own implementation, you can do that by using the Flutter's plugins public implementation. In both cases, you can add them in your pub spec file, and when Flutter for Web compiles, those should work. Rihanna, what about interrupts?
Well, in terms of interop with Dart, Dart has been used for web since it was created. For instance, it has been used for developing web applications in production with Angular. Flutter could have full access to all existing Dart libraries that run on the web today. And in case we need a specific functionality on the web, we can check the Dart for Web packets and include them into our Flutter project. And in case we want to interop with JavaScript libraries or with our custom JavaScript code, we can use the package jest by importing it as dependency into pubspec.yaml, or we can use the Dart.js package by just importing it into the Flutter code and adding or interacting with JavaScript code inside Flutter project. And in case we need to interrupt with HTML, we can do that by using the HTML element view widget. Here is it is an example shared on CodeBen link at the bottom of the slide, where we are using the iframe element to embed a video inside the Flutter code, resulting in this demo that you are seeing. Now, Flutter for Mobile is stable, counting thousands of applications from the app stores. Currently, Flutter for Web support is in beta version. The ideal scenario, though, is to have your Flutter code compiled and running in the browsers with the native performance, While compiling the web currently, we might have some little glitches, waiting for it to get stable. How can we leverage Flutter for web, Yuna?
Okay, let's see some web scenario. So let's say that you have built your Flutter code, just deploy it to a web server and have a reachable URL. To embed the Flutter code into a web page, we use the frame HTML tag and use the URL of our compiled web app. And with this, we can host Flutter compiled code within an existing web page. Arianna, give us some example.
Let's check out this example. This is a simple static responsive website for showcasing a mobile app. A website made out of common web technologies, that is to say HTML template with Bootstrap 4, jQuery, and uses a library for simulating mobile tablet and desktop devices into a web page. Usually when showcasing a mobile app, it is common to use digital content such as images, GIFs, or videos showing how to use the app. But what if we add an interactive content, a content that can just take an effort of running a single command on top of the Flutter mobile code that we already have? So for the sake of simplicity, we just took the Flutter boilerplate app and compiled it, running Flutter build web command, deployed it along the static web folder after adding an iframe element into HTML, pointing to the folder containing the compiled files. And now user can interact with it and check out how our mobile app works. In a similar way, we can replace any app within this static web page template and allow user to interact with our compiled app. But since Flutter makes it easy to recompose and reuse widgets, this allows us to create portions of app that can be compiled separately without investing a lot of time. So in this demo, we just compiled the entire app, but at the same time, we can. It is possible to choose whether to showcase, let's say, a portion of it, or the whole app, or just the UI of our app, or just the same functionalities, or simply the onboarding, for instance, and permit user to interact with whatever portion of code we want with compiled into web. Here's another example where we embed multiple Flutter apps. In this case, each Flutter app has been compiled and deployed in the same folders of the web page. It is possible to use this methodology, for example, to showcase multiple apps or variation of the same app, or to create a catalog of Flutter apps, and so on. Hey, Yuna, from this use case, what benefits you see for users?
First of all, Flutter for Web can help users to familiarize with the application interface and functionalities. Interacting with the online sample, users can easily onboard the app. Users can also have a clearer idea of the quality of the app after the onboarding, and hopefully they will be confident about buying or getting the product. And what about developers, Rihanna?
Well, for the developers, sure, can help to perceive early feedbacks, broaden exposure and usability taste. Usability is key for the success of mobile apps, so making the process of sharing as easy as an URL sharing while developing can help reach more real users, testing the app and receiving early feedbacks. This will definitely help a developer to efficiently implement and deploy to source the native app. And while developing, can help to check the UI responsiveness easily also, at least for early insights on how your application will look like in different screen sizes. So far, we have seen how we can easily host a Flutter app inside a web page. We can enrich a simple static page with an interactive experience, and in the same way, we can enrich our web pages with Flutter graphically rich content or useful core functions written in Flutter to be used in web applications. And we have mentioned the benefits of doing so for both users and developers. Let's see some more examples. Yuna, over to you.
You can embed, for example, sign up, sign in portion or brand-driven content into a web page. It can be your Flutter-developed mobile chat app, or simply a dashboard for data visualization in a cross-platform consistent way, including web. It can also be an online tool visualization. Take as an example the Dartpart tool that supports coding online Flutter, and it can be easily embedded into a web page, and so on. Embedding interactive content not only permits us to enrich our web page with graphically rich content, but at the same time, we can take advantage of it for code reusability, for UI consistency across all the platforms. Now, Rihanna, let's see the next scenario and maybe the more exciting one, packaging Flutter for web as a progressive web app. As more web apps and websites are becoming PWAs nowadays.
Well, PWAs are web pages that can behave just like a native app downloaded from the stores. The basic concept of PWA is to deliver the app-like experience within a browser. It starts as a normal web page, and as a user explores it, it can decide to install or add it to home screen. And once launched from the home screen, it can even hide the browser UI controls and appear just like a native app. PWA is usually in a web development is just a set of technologies and practices allowing us to create web applications similar to native ones. And the major components of a PWA is a service worker. Service worker is a simple JavaScript file that sits between the server and the browser and can do stuff on behalf of both the browser and the server in the background. It can handle requests and send responses. And a very common task for a service worker, which is a baseline for a PWA requirement, is to provide offline capabilities. And the second main component is the manifest file, which contains metadata such as theme color, icons, and whether the app should be displayed standalone or not. Basically, it contains all information regarding the app-like feeling that we have from a PWA. So checking out the minimum requirements in order to call a web app a PWA, we have service worker and the manifest file. And a part of that, we have to serve our web app through HTTPS. We need an icon. And finally, to tie everything together, we need some HTML, and that is the actual web page. Flutter for Web actually includes support for the core features needed for uninstallable and offline capable PWA app. All we need is just to run the build command. And we got the service worker file, which simply permits the offline capability by using the browser's cache and serving the needed assets from the cache when the user is offline, and the service worker registration code into the index.html file. This way, when we build, we got for free a PWA working also offline. And not only on mobile, PWAs are supported on all major desktop platforms. They can be installed on the user's device like native desktop apps, and they are launched in the same way as the other desktop apps. And here we have the two launcher icons in the home screen. One is the native app icon, and the second one is the PWA icon. Consequently, the first launching the Flutter code, and the second launching the same Flutter code compiled to a web app, both coexisting in our home screen, but delivered differently. One deployed in a web server, and the other deployed in the App Store. Obviously, the performance of these two apps are different, expecting the native one to perform better, but yet it's good to know that we can have two choices in terms of software delivery, store or no store, with pros and cons of each. Over to you, Yuna, to recap.
So, which are the pros of leveraging Flutter for Web? You have no install friction, since you need no store. It permits you to have more users try into your app. and it enables you to quickly iterate on your application or experiments. Also, updating your app is just deploying to a web server. We also have some use cases that benefit from embedding a Flutter compiled code into a web page. In this case, we can enrich web pages with graphically rich content and interactive experiences and take advantage of code reuse and UI consistency. Using Flutter application as PWA, we can have an app-like behavior, but without going through the app stores. Also, this gives us more choice in terms of the app's distribution strategy by making it also visible in the browser and so searchable for the users. So thank you very much for being with us. Bye-bye from Yuna Salviati.
And Rihanna Kidir. Hope you enjoyed the talk. Happy web fluttering. And if in case you are interested in the slides, we are going to tweet the link after the talk.
Thank you, Rihanna. Thank you, Yuna. And as I said, the main advice here is just to have your phone and your Twitter and subscribe to many awesome developers, GDEs, and Flutteristas, so you can follow them and ask any questions you want. Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a long day, guys. Yeah, so long day and full of talks, and I hope you liked it. And actually, I would like to ask the crew come to stage. Guys, please come. Please come. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Majid.
Hi.
What's wrong with your beard?
What happened? I don't know what happened.
No Shave November is not over yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no. That's a new face for closing.
Where is your mustache? Come on.
Oh, that guy you mean? Oh,
Yeah, that
left,
guy.
actually.
That another.
He'll be back tomorrow again in the beginning for sure. But if you like him and his beer, you should be again on the live stream tomorrow for sure.
Maybe,
and watch him, right?
Yeah, it is really hard for the beer today. Actually, you know what? What is a big cool thing about the conference is that during the talk I was so inspired with this horn, your horn, that I wrote a Flutter Viking song. I can play it for you.
Can we hear it?
Yeah. So just close your eyes. Just everyone, just close your eyes.
Okay, close your eyes.
You don't have to, but still, just imagine cloudy mountains. Forest, Norwegian or Nordic forest, and some Flutter Vikings with a dash on the shield. Flutter Viking song.
Thank you very much. All right. A big,
You're speechless.
big applause for Evgeny.
Thank you very
So
much.
he did
Thank you very
a
much.
fantastic job today. Without him today, we didn't know what to do for sure.
Oh, come on.
So he did a good job, and he entertained all of us, and he introduced a lot of good speakers. You know him, you go and find him on Twitter. He is an amazing friend of me. Just follow him or follow him everywhere, I would say.
No.
And a big shout out again to you. Thanks again for joining us today. And I think now we should move on to the winners announcement, right? So the most exciting part for the Twitter contest. Should we?
Looks like a plan.
All right. Okay. Then first thing first, thank you attendees, those who are still watching us and those who have watched us and left. It was a pleasure to present to all of you today. It's not done though. It's just the beginning. Tomorrow and after tomorrow, we will see you again. And we have a great program for tomorrow and after tomorrow as well. But now it's time to announce some winner. But before that, maybe let's quickly talk about tomorrow, because you should come back perhaps. So tomorrow we have, yeah, I mean, definitely. Why? What did I say? I'm so sorry. Yeah, definitely you should come back tomorrow. We have amazing speaker tomorrow. I'm so excited about tomorrow. Such an amazing day it's gonna be. So you'll see the speakers on the website as well. You can add them to your calendar, watch them tomorrow. We have also again 2 activities. One of them will be very, very nice from Full Complete Reference Book, and Alberto will join us and we run it together like today. So we have another talk and activity with Daniele. That's gonna be amazing. So I promise a lot of gifts to give away tomorrow as well. And time for, oh, I ruined the first winners.
Oh,
sorry.
come on.
It's time for drum roll and winners. Should we go for that?
Drum roll.
Oh, winner.
Sorry.
So thank you for tweeting. We actually got a lot of tweets, and at the last minute we decided to give more gifts. So because it was hard to choose, like which tweet we should choose. So let's thank you for tweeting, and we will contact you on Twitter and tell you how you can redeem your Udemy voucher. So let's go for the next one. Drum roll. Whoa! Thank you very much for this amazing selfie. This is very nice. Yeah, well, it seems so, but be careful with that. So for sure, but it's very nice. We will contact you on Twitter for sure. Let's go for the next one. Drum roll. Thank you for this tweet. I actually don't know what this is exactly, but it's like a galaxy or
Darth
Vader. It's Darth Vader. Yeah.
Darth Vader.
Oh yes, exactly. Okay, but we liked it. We liked it so much. So thank you for tweeting this, and so we will reach you out for sure. Next one, drum roll. Thank you for tweeting. Motabar, if I actually pronounce your name correct. So we will contact you and tell you how you can redeem your Udemy voucher. So drum roll, next one. Oh, thank you very much with these amazing things that you did on your head. It was funny. Marcin, so we will contact you and tell you how you can redeem your prizes. And the next one. All right, so
nice.
Thank you very much for this tweet. We also liked this one. We thought that we should give away more gifts, so then also we decided to. We picked you actually kind of randomly, so we liked that. So then also give it away. I think, yeah, we have one more.
Okay.
I didn't ruin it. Oh, let's go drum roll! Yay! That is nice. So we like this one as well. So we give away Twitter.
Another bird.
Sorry, Udemy. Yeah, this is nice, right?
Yeah.
We give away Udemy vouchers to you, and we will contact you on Twitter how you can redeem that later. And I think that's it, all of our winners. Thank you again. You can attend. This is the simplest contest that we have. Just go and tweet about us and take a selfie or just be active on social media. Then you will win one of our prizes. And oh, we have another winner. Drum roll then. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
of course.
Sorry. Matthew, this was the last one. I actually didn't know this one for sure, but yes, very good that also we picked you. Thank you for tweeting, or this is probably from Reddit or somewhere. So we are actually checking all of our social media. So thank you for that. And we will contact you for sure how you can redeem your voucher, Udemy voucher. And all right, with that said, don't forget that you can go on our website. We added the button on the first page. You can also go to fluttervikings.com/activities, read about all of them, take your chance. Some of the contents have much bigger prizes. We definitely give away 10 birds. Make sure that you can win one of these dashes. So, and also attend our contest. By the way, two good news I have to tell you. First, we have over 2,500 registered attendee, and we had over 1,000 concurrent user at some point. At some point, and that was fabulous. Thank you very much to make this happen. And second, Scott just announced a contest, and he just told me before the closing we are sold out.
Wow.
All right, so the $5 Patreon is, whoa. Thank you for everyone for becoming a sponsor. Thank you very much. So you will get a t-shirt for sure very soon. And another thing, you should probably go and take some of these activities. We've got some already. We've got some emails and some submissions. I mean, I don't know. Some people are watching and maybe also doing, I don't know, coding. I have no idea. But we got some submission, and some of them are very good, surprisingly.
It looks like people can attend the conference and code. Yeah.
Yes, we can do that apparently. So, and let me also take a chance and thanks our sponsors one more time. And also let you know that we have a great collaboration with Flutter community. We are part of Flutter community. So, and you see that everything is happening through Flutter community channel. Our heart is there. Hope you can also subscribe, also follow Flutter community, follow us, and become a sponsor on Patreon. We will do our best to deliver the best ever content for Flutter and Dart to you. And I have to end perhaps our conference. Evgeny, Sarah, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, Sarah, please go on.
I was just going to say I've been impressed by the logo contest submissions already. It's amazing what people have put together just in the last few hours. And yeah, keep it up.
I was surprised by the amount of comments in the comments section.
Yes,
so people
actually.
discussing, like, first talk about checkbox. It was a holy war about checkboxes. Come on, and it's in a good way. So people discussing Visual Studio Code versus Android. Is Flutter dying or not? It's not, but yeah. Or a lot of things. So, and a lot of questions. And I hope tomorrow you will ask more questions and we will have more time for the questions.
Absolutely. Very good. Then we should say goodbye and come back tomorrow. You will receive some email from us as well. See you tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.